What was it? That it was at Enoch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You can see.
Mm-hmm. Give it time to come up.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're gonna start from where apparently everything got frozen. All right, so we talked about Enoch, we talked about religion, we talked about religious organizations, we talked about Enoch, the Enoch that walked with Yeshua, and the Enoch that was from Cain's lineage. We talked about the line of Jared and the seventh generation from Adam. Seventh generation from Adam minus the 607 years will get you to the birth of Enoch from Cain's lineage. So we talked about that. 3382, birth of Enoch that walked with God. Math, Albert Pike book 5860. AM is the year that the Mason that book was written with the Masons. That year is 1871, which is the original book, the original year when Albert Pike wrote Dogmas and Morals and Dogmas. So take the 5860 minus the 1870, and that'll get you the year of their leader birth. We talked about Uno Mundi, the year of the world, and Albert Pike's book. We talked about Cain, and we talked about Abel. We talked about the Mason years, and we talked about the 607 years, which is 6 generations. That's where Jared comes in at. So let's pick up where we left off. Now, what we're going to do is, before we read The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky, because what I said about the esoteric world, which is who we're talking about when we're speaking of Freemasons or Skull and Bones or any of the other quote unquote secret organizations, they try to make good, bad, bad, good. This is not one of the books, right? So, in turn, evil into good and good into evil. Before we do that, was Cain marked in a similar way with visible or a physical emblem of some time? So let's talk about some of the theories that people use when they talk about the mark of Cain. The first one, pretty reputable. People thought that Cain's appearance had changed. And Cain's appearance changed so that no one could associate him with the first murder of Abel. Okay, that's one theory about the mark of Cain. Okay, pretty reputable. That would kind of make sense. Only the fact that it's not a physical mark. And then, if that was the case, where would he have came from? Because there weren't that many people on the earth at that time. It'd be different if it was today, but back then, maybe a couple of, maybe 100 people or so, maybe, not even that. Don't make sense. Number two, at the other extreme, some of the older writers believe that he was marked on the forehead to openly identify him as his brother's murderer. Okay? Well, of course, we all know where they got that from, Revelation. Third one is that there was also support theory that which said Cain's forehead was marked with the Ahia. Now, of course, they use the Tetragrammaton God, but we're not going to put that up there. What's the Tetragrammaton God? YHWH. To warn people about Cain being an aggressor. Septuagint. What's the Septuagint? No.
The Old Testament is.
Isn't it right there?
No. What's the Old Testament?
Oh no.
The Old Testament written in. Was it Greek? Greek?
Greek. That's the Septuagint. The Septuagint says that the mark was destined him to groan and tremble, and it inflicted a physical disability on Cain. Right, so they feel that's the mark. Where did they get that from? Let's go to Genesis chapter 32, verses 23 and 24. Okay, with the struggle of Jacob when he was at Peniel. Read that.
Genesis chapter 32, verse 23. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
So they figure that Cain had this mark, Jacob had this mark. Skip down to 31 and read 31 and 32.
Verse 31. And he passed over Penuel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, for which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew that shrank.
So he's saying that Jacob walked around with a limp. So Cain had to have some kind of physical impairment. The more outlandish one is this one. Cain had a horn grow out of his forehead. Okay, that identified a mark on him. How could that be possible? It could be possible. It's very possible. Right? It's very possible. But Cain did not have a horn out of his forehead. That's false doctrine. That's incorrect. So there are a lot of theories when it comes to the doctrine of the mark of Cain. A lot of people believe that it was at this point that Cain gave, that Yeshua gave Cain a hook nose, a big hook nose. Others believe that black people came from Cain. Cain was the first black man. And Cain began to produce the black race, dark people. Kind of like what Mormons say and what the Book of Mormon says in the Book of Joseph about black people. Right. But let's understand something. They made it up because they didn't like black people. They didn't like people with big nose. So they used the mark of Cain to bash people with. There's not one hit. There's not one shred of proof that the mark of Cain was a physical characteristic. Not one shred of evidence. But the Bible does give us some kind of indication on the mark of Cain. Let's go 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 12 and 13. So the Bible does give us indications on the mark of Cain. But we're going to go deeper than that. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, we're reading verses 12 and 13. All right, let's read it.
1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 12. For what have I to do to judge them also that are without? Do not ye judge them that are within?
What do I have to do to judge them also that are without? It's not people in the church. Next verse.
But them that are without, God judgeth.
Them that are without, Yeshaya judges. Read.
Therefore, put away from among yourselves that wicked person.
So Yeshaya judges those who are outside the church. It is not our job to judge people outside the church. If they come into the church, you are to correct people. Yeshaya does not do things this way. That is your job inside the church. That's it. What happens in the world is none of our business. It's none of our business. And once we understand that concept, we would be we'd be in a much better place. Everything that goes on in the world, that does not pertain to us. They're doing it what they're doing it because Yeshaya is going to judge them. Therefore, we do not have to worry about what is going on in the world. You shouldn't. You got bigger things to concern yourself with. In Israel, they stoned people. And they did it to the church inside. Acts 7, 38 and 39. Acts 7, 38 and 39. Let's read that.
Acts chapter 7, verse 38. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt.
All right. So in the wilderness, there were people who were stoned for disobeying Yeshaya. They were outside of Yeshaya. Let's go to Genesis 9 and 5. After the flood, they were clearly told to execute those who murder. First part of this lesson, we're going to have scriptures. Then we're going to go away from scriptures for a while, and then we're going to come back. Genesis 9 and 5, read that.
Genesis chapter 9, verse 5. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man.
All right, so in the Bible, there's only one explanation for a mark. There's only one explanation for a mark. Revelation 14 and 9. This is the mark of the devil. Yes.
This question might be a little bit weird, but I've heard people say that other scripture, they say that that's when we lost dominion over the animals. And they were like, that's when they started like being like the lions would attack people. You know what I mean?
First part.
Is that what the
First part
means?
First part. First part. No more dominion.
Okay.
Second part. Kill them if they kill you. If a person kills, kill them. Revelation 14, 9.
Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand.
It was a mark or a sign of the beast, a symbol, which says this man serves Satan. This man is a servant of the devil. Not a literal mark on the hand or the forehead. as we're going to see. Yeshua had his own mark. Those of you are following, hopefully, well, because you're sitting here, you're following the mark. Let's read it. Exodus 31:13. Still have to obey in your behaviors and your mannerisms, but at least you're following one sign. Let's read that. Exodus chapter 31, verse 13.
Exodus chapter 31, verse 13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generation, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you.
And we're going to go down to verse 17. So it says, for a sign between me and you. That's a mark. No disfiguring, nothing growing out your forehead, because you're on the Sabbath day. You're honoring the Sabbath. Read verse 17.
It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
Now we're going to go over to Ezekiel 20 and 12. So this is a sign of Yeshua's people. Unmistakable. That set them apart. That set them different from the rest of the world. So it is a mark. They did not work on Saturday. They worshiped the Lord on Saturday. This is a sign of a mark forever. It is the mark of Yeshua. We're going to read Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Let's read it.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 12.
Whoa.
Ezekiel chapter 20,
Ezekiel
verse 12.
chapter 20, verse 12. Sorry, I said Exodus.
Sorry, I said Exodus.
Oh well. At least we are on one accord. Ezekiel.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. Moreover, also, I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord that sanctify them.
Right. So Yeshua has a mark for his people. One of the marks is keeping this, the Sabbath day. That's a mark. Let's skip over to verse 20.
Verse 20, and hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am the Lord your God.
Yeah, that's what you do, because that's what you're supposed to be doing on the Sabbath day, to getting to know him. That's really what you're supposed to be doing on the Sabbath day, getting to know him. Rest. It's a sign. Keep the Sabbath day. It's a sign. You are marked. Now, there's no physical marks on you. Not unless you ask a dumb question and I put a bruise on you through the power of the Holy Spirit.
Or the children act up and get a whooping.
Right. Marks on the behind, and that's a mark. But here is a sign between you and Yeshua, because you're keeping his Sabbaths and you're hallowing it. If you're not keeping this Sabbath and you're not hallowing the Sabbath day, then you're somebody else. You're Jude 11. Let's go to Jude 11. So Yeshua is making a clear line, a distinction between the righteous sons of Adam and those like Cain. But what he's saying is that he's keeping you from judging. Why is that? Because Yeshua has already put people in place of authority. That's why. And it's not us. We were not called to judge. We were called to serve him. He has someone else to judge. He has someone else who's in authority. We are not in authority, and we will never be in authority. Let's read Jude 11.
Jude chapter 1, verse 11. Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Kor.
All right. So that mark is not physical. There's nothing physical about that mark. Having to keep the obedience of the follower of Yeshua, or keeping the authority of Satan. Yes.
Yes. So keeping with what you were saying about Luke, the mark not being a physical thing, I want to go to Luke chapter 22 and talk about Peter, because Peter also, without anybody knowing who he had a mark upon him. And it doesn't say he had a mark upon him, but he did. In Luke chapter 22 and verse 56, it says, "But a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire and earnestly looked upon him and said, This man was also with him." Now we know the situation that Yeshua had just been taken, and that Peter was already told that he would deny Yeshua 3 times. But he didn't know how it was going to happen or anything like that. When the 3 people saw who he was and the 3 times that he denied him, it wasn't by people that he had a physical mark of Yeshua. He wasn't wearing, a clothing with an emblem that said, I'm a follower of Yeshua or anything like that. He wasn't even speaking, saying, "Oh, my Yeshua, why have they taken him?" Because Peter was hiding because he was scared. So there wasn't anything open about Yeshua, about Peter speaking, saying that I follow Yeshua. It wasn't even that the people saw him before and said, "I saw him before." It was because of his mannerisms. And remember, Peter wasn't speaking or preaching or anything like that. And when we think about emulating Yeshua, that's what you're thinking about. And Peter wasn't doing that. In fact, Peter did the opposite by denying, being scared about Yeshua. Just like Yeshua said, and even in that sense, he was still operating in the spirit of Yeshua. He wasn't denying him because he was wicked and evil, but he still had the mark of Yeshua on him, and that's why those people knew that even without Peter saying anything, preaching or teaching anything, they already knew who he was.
Interesting.
But we have that same mark today. Because I was telling Shepherd about, I had went to this place for the first time to get a pedicure, and I didn't say anything about Yeshua. And the woman who was doing my pedicure kept looking at me, and she kept smiling at me. She didn't speak English, and she just kept smiling at me, and she kept rubbing her heart, and she just kept smiling and rubbing her heart. And she tried to tell me she was motion, and the other lady related. She said, "It's just something about you that touches my heart." I never said I'm a follower of Yeshua. I never said anything, But she just kept staring at me, and then she kept smiling and touching her heart, and she was bowing, and I'm like, what is she doing? But it's not until the other lady said that it's something about you that's touching her heart.
Interesting.
I never said anything about Yeshua, none of that. And she said, "When you come back here, I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you." And she kept saying, "Your feet are new. They're new. They're new."
And you mean you didn't have a mark that said "I follow Yeshua" on your forehead,
No.
or a shirt that says "I am of the nothing"? Nothing they could look at. Yeah, a bumper sticker maybe.
I have none of that. And she just kept saying, while she was doing my feet, she kept saying, "They're new. They're new." they're new.
Mm-hmm.
And she just kept smiling, and she would touch her heart, and she would bow and was just smiling. And she said, she told the other ladies to tell me that every time I come there, make an appointment with her, that she would take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's if you are willing to follow Yeshaya. There's a light in those people who are willing to follow Yeshaya.
So it's not like
It's a
everything.
mark,
It has everything didn't die with the disciples like some Christians think.
right? It's a mark.
Hmm.
Let's read this. Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike, page 200. It'll say second section because we read the first section, which people almost were gonna stone me. Well, let's read section 2. And I think we read this already, but I want to make sure that we read this. I think we read it last week, though.
Yeah.
Let's read that. Section 2.
The legend of this degree is thus: partially interpreted, it is of little importance whether it is in any wise historical, for its value consists in the lessons which it inculcates, and the duties which it prescribes to those who receive it. The parables and allegories of the scriptures are not less valuable than history. Nay, they are more so, because ancient history is little instructive, and truths are concealed in and symbolized by the legend and the myth. There are profounder meanings concealed in the symbols of this degree, connected with the philosophical system of the Hebrew Kabbalists, which you will learn hereafter, if you should be so fortunate as to advance. They are unfolded in the higher degrees, the lion, Ariah, which also means the altar, still holds in his mouth the key of the enigma of the Sphinx.
That was Aryeh.
Aryeh.
Keep reading.
I think that was it.
Oh, that was it?
Yes.
So what
Okay.
does it say?
Let's find out what it's saying. If you didn't hear what he said, the esoteric world believes that good is evil and evil is good.
Reprobate mind.
Right? I really don't know. You can't say reprobate. Reprobate means that you knew something, you knew the good, and then you went to evil.
You think they don't know?
That's not reprobate mind. Albert Pike did not have a reprobate mind. No, he did not. Not by in the least bit. Because if you solely believe, we solely believe in Yeshaya, but people may say that we have a reprobate. Christians may say we have a reprobate mind, right? Do we? Christians will say that. Doesn't have a reprobate mind. Reprobate means that you were following the truth. You were in the truth. All of a sudden, you just went away from it. There's a mark there. Let's read this. Secret Doctrine. This is by Blavatsky. And it says, once more, that the key to Genesis, listen to this, is in our hands. It is the scientific symbolical Kabbalah, which unveils the secret, the great serpent of the Garden of Eden and the Lord God are identical, and so are Jehovah and Cain. One, so Cain is the God of this world who gave his power to rule to his son, and he dedicated the city to him. See that? See that?
Oh.
See that? He said that they are now a city that stands for government. Isn't Babylon called a city? Wow. Good is evil, evil is good. That's what they're saying. Babylon is a city. Enoch got power to rule over the city. So Enoch got power to rule over the city. And the Lord God, what they're saying is the same as Cain. Then it means that Cain gave his power to rule to his son Enoch. And the mark of Cain was transferred to Enoch.
Who all believe that? Show of hands. Look, they scared. You gonna
Nobody believes it? Okay. Wow, that's a tough crowd. The mark of Cain transferred to his son Enoch. And that line has been unbroken ever since.
That's true.
Even into the modern world today, that line is broken ever since. How is that? We're going to show you. Yes.
So, is it kind of like a curse then?
No. Yeshua did this. No, it's not a curse. Cain, referred to in theology as a murderer, a liar to Yeshua, attempts the king of Israel to number the people. Cain was the one who did that. Satan. That mark traveled, and that mark is still here today. It did not go away with the flood. I'm sorry to inform you. It did not go away with the flood. Enoch was a ruler. Enoch had authority. Who gave Enoch that authority? Cain gave him that authority. Who gave Cain that authority? Yeshua gave him that authority.
Mm-hmm. Do y'all know why? Do you know why that had to be like that? Because it was still like in the garden in the beginning, a tree of knowledge of good and evil. So the garden went away, but that tree of knowledge and good and evil did not, just like the tree of life did not go away. It was just carried on through Cain and then through Enoch, his son. Understand?
This isn't about the doctrine of Satan speaking the words in the Garden of Eden.
No, it's not.
No, because this happened after that.
It's still giving people a choice to choose the tree of life or to choose the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because he's a fair and just judge. He's not a tyrant.
So yes, Yeshua gave Cain the authority to rule. Mm-hmm. That authority went to Enoch. Enoch started building cities, and he was over the cities. He was building governments. Mm-hmm. That was Enoch. Brought an adversary, enemy to Yeshua. And the people who are under the esoteric world, Yeshua is the enemy. Mm-hmm. Cain is revered. I told you earlier, it's good is evil. Evil is good to them. We're going to see more. Somebody had their hand up?
Yeah, me.
Yep.
So my question is, right now when you said about that it came from Cain went to Enoch, so with the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life, right?
No, incorrect. That's not correct. Tree of knowledge of good and evil went through Cain to Enoch, not the tree of life.
I understand.
Okay.
In the beginning. So, and we were given the tree of life with the shy, right, to know. So are you saying that with them, the knowledge of true and evil
went about, because that's how it had to be. So through them it went about, like the tree of life was to give it to the world. So is that what you're saying? Yes. Okay, now I'm understanding.
Okay, no, that's not what she's saying. That's what the Bible is saying.
How because it was still like that from the beginning in the garden with with Adam and Eve, and they were told not to touch it, but they did. Just like today, we're still told not to touch sin, but people still do. So he's a fair and just judge. He's not just going to take away. Once Cain killed Abel, and when they was out, when Adam and Eve was kicked out the garden, he was not just going to do away with the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Right. And let's understand something. Not everybody who is not serving has the mark of Cain. It's a special group.
Yeah.
Special group.
So just say that.
And we're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about it later.
I'm patient.
So the line of Cain, who they call the true God.
Yeah.
They call Cain the true God. So through the line of Cain is them, the true God. They call him the true God. And the enemy is Yeshua. The enemy is Ahiah.
But the reason why Ahiah and Yeshua is the enemy, because they feel like that, and I have heard people testify to this, that they feel like Ahiah and Yeshua was wrong because all they wanted his creation to know was good. And they say Satan is God, the enlightened one, because he taught them good and evil.
Yeah, which that's also incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
That's also incorrect because Satan didn't teach them good and evil. Sorry. No, he didn't.
Good about Satan.
So this person wants to rule. This person wants to be in authority. He can punish 7-fold 70 times. Remember that was said. He can put you in jail and you can't do anything about it. He can make your life miserable and you can't do anything about it. He can take whatever he wants from you and you don't have the power to fight back. This person, these people were put in authority by Yeshua himself. They have authority. So they have power.
What do you think in Job when it say the world was given into the hands of the wicked? Is that something different?
Something different.
Okay.
Right.
Y'all want to ask that question?
Hey. This has the power to do it. And he hates the God of heaven. Mm-hmm. He can't stand the God of the heavens. This is a mindset. It comes into play. Because many who are subject to the rule of Cain don't even know. This is how come they can't be a reprobate mind, because they don't even know that they are under the rule of Cain. They don't know it. They don't have a clue. They are deceived into following the rule, whether they like it or not. Whether they like it or not. He's in power. He wants control.
By any means necessary.
And Yeshua told us this, but we didn't catch it. We'll catch it today, won't we? Therefore, Yeshua is called by the Gnostics the creator of all, who one in heaven, yeah, I know, and then morphed into Satan. Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said? What did the Gnostics say about Yeshua? You did not hear what
He
I
walked into
said.
Satan.
Yeshua was called by the Gnostics the creator of all, won the battle in heaven, and then he morphed into the serpent. And there you have a reverse gospel. Let's go to Genesis chapter 6. We're going to read verses 1 through 3.
Ooh, the lies.
You have a reverse gospel. But they totally believe this. And because they have authority, they're not going to let that authority go. Genesis, the 6th chapter. We're going to start at verse 1. All right, let's read that.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Verse 3. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
All right, so the man's decreased from 900 years to 120 years in a matter of a few generations. Methuselah was the last one that lived at 969. After that, Methuselah was Noah's great-great-grandfather. That's only a few generations before Yeshua said 120 years.
How long did Noah live?
6 something.
So
the daughters, the sons of God, saw the daughters of men. We read that in the book of Enoch. Enoch 6, Enoch 7, no, Enoch, 6, 7, and 8. We read that in the book of Enoch. And we understand what that means now through the book of Enoch. Seth had the righteous line that's in the Bible is Seth. There's other ones who are not mentioned in the genealogy because it says that they had sons and daughters. Those were the ones who were originally called the sons of God and started seeing Cain's daughters. And they started mating, to put it nicely. Well, wait a minute. The flood was supposed to destroy all of that, wasn't it? Cleanse the earth. Nah, didn't happen. Didn't happen.
So how did it not get destroyed?
How did what not get destroyed?
The mark of Cain.
Mark of Cain is not a physical mark.
I know that.
It's not a...
How did it still live on after the deluge?
Was it the information that was found?
What information that was found?
Like it said, yeah,
The
monument.
Yeah, monument, and it had like stuff inside.
Okay, so like I'm hearing 4 different people talk at the same time. Bunch of Rudies.
A monument and stuff was found inside?
A monument and stuff was found inside of a monument. The building still stood.
Yeah, the ones that Enoch.
It survived the flood and it had information from Enoch from Cain.
So how did that information get after flood? Incorrect. No, that's not what happened. That's right. That's not what happened. The evil spirits start increasing on the planet. Cain rules with ruthlessness through his line, time and time until we get to Lamech. Chaos oppressive power. You mess with me and you mess with my authority, I will kill you. Men began to multiply on the face of the earth. And what were they doing? They were killing each other. The ones who were in authority, giants. We read that in the book of Enoch. Men of renown.
So Cain.
I will sort you out. I will kill you.
So Cain's son Enoch, original gangsters.
So as I've said before, Yeshaya's beautiful children go shopping at the mall, and the men of Yeshaya go and they see the little tight skirts on the daughters of Cain. Who do they go after? Who did the sons of Israel go after when they were in the wilderness? Tantalizing. The women of Midianites were tantalizing to the Israelites. Intermarry. And when Yeshaya says, don't intermarry, and Yeshaya says, I have to cut off mankind to 120 years. I cannot allow him to live past 120 years. Now, we all understand and know there's no such thing as Nephilim. There's not a word Nephilim in the Bible, even though they try to get one of Esau's wives and say that her name was derivative from Nephilim. That's incorrect.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Who is this?
The sons of God, the line of Adam, daughters of men. These people are in authority. They want authority.
Yeah.
And they'll do anything to get authority. Right? Morals and Dogma. This is, I'm not going to keep saying this is a book by Albert Pike because it's right there. Morals and Dogma. Let's read page 197 and 198. Let's read that. Listen carefully.
The supreme, self-existent, eternal, all-wise, all-powerful, infinitely good, pitying, beneficent, and merciful creator and preserver of the universe was the same.
Hold on a minute. Now remember, they're not talking about Yeshaya. They're not talking about Ahiah. They're talking about Cain. Keep going.
By whatever name he was called to the intellectual and enlightened men of all nations, the name was nothing, if not a symbol and representative hieroglyph of his nature and attributes.
Mm-hmm.
The name Al represents his renown, his remoteness above men, his inaccessibility. Baal or Bala, his might, Elohim, his various potencies. Ayuha, existence, and the generation of things. None of his names amount the Orientals were the symbols of a divinely infinite love and tenderness and all bracing mercies. As Moloch or Molech, he was but an omnipotent monarch.
A what?
Omnipotent monarch.
They're talking about Moloch now. Keep reading.
A tremendous and irresponsible will, as Adonai, only an arbitrary Lord and Master.
When you're in Christianity, when you call Adonai, El Shaddai, remember those? Elohim.
Something
Yeah, that was Jehovah Tishkadu or something like that. Did you just hear what he said? Keep reading.
As Adonai, only an arbitrary Lord and Master, as Al Shaddai, potent and a destroyer.
So that's what they're calling in Christianity when they're running off those names, a destroyer.
to communicate true and correct ideas in respect of the deity was one chief object of the mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
In them, Curim the king and Curim the master obtained their knowledge of him and his attributes, and in them that knowledge was taught to Moses and Pythagoras. Wherefore nothing forbids you to consider the whole legend of this degree, like that of the masters, an allegory representing the perpetuation of the knowledge of the true God and the sanctuaries of initiation. By the subterranean vaults you may understand the places of initiation, which in the ancient ceremonies were generally underground. The Temple of Solomon presented a symbolic image of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
It resembled in its arrangements and furniture all the temples of the ancient nations that practiced the mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
The system of numbers was intimately connected with their religion and worship, and has come down to us in masonry. Though the historic meaning of with which the numbers used by us are pregnant is unknown to the vast majority of those who use them, the numbers were especially employed that had a reverence to the deity, represented its attributes, or figured in the framework of the world, in time and space, and formed more or less the basis of that framework. These were universally regarded as sacred, being the expression of order and intelligence, the utterance of divinity himself.
Mm. Wow.
This is a second. This is a part 2.
No, we're not. No.
So they're saying Cain or Enoch was God. They're saying Cain.
Right. Exactly. And all the gods of
Oh,
Christianity.
so I see what you're saying. They're not at a reprobate mind.
Right.
Because this has came down through.
This started from Cain to Enoch. Yes. So that has been that's been thousands and thousands of years. If you do something for thousands of years, then look, the Freemasons did not just start in 1790, whatever, 18 something. Freemasons have been around for quite a long time. And we're going to prove it.
So I have a question. You know, with the time of the flood, the time of the Tower of Babel, everybody did not participate in that.
No.
So at the Tower of Babel,
correct,
could that have been Cain's?
We're going to get to that. Okay. We're not going to talk about the Tower of Babel, but we're going to talk about an intricate figure in the Tower of Babel who had the mark of Cain.
Yeah, so
in the media, when you look at television, you see the mark of Cain. You see powerful rulers, powerful men making speeches.
Did we get to the flood yet?
Hold on. Making speeches. Yeah, we're going to get past the flood.
The reason why I was asking, because they still don't know how Cain, the mark of Cain, made it past the flood.
I talked about it.
Do y'all know how the mark
of Cain? But hold on a minute. Let's hold on a second. Okay. Hold on a second. We don't want to jump ahead. Stay where we're at right now.
You've been
wicked men in the earth. Wicked men in the earth. Their heart is evil continually. Read Genesis 4:24 again. Genesis 4:24.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 24. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold.
Lamech 70 and sevenfold. So when the 70 and 7, he said that I will destroy everyone. except for one family. Now, of course, that family was perfect, right? Think there may have been some daughters that were possibly married to them. Who knows whether the daughters of men or the daughters of God, or perhaps the line of Cain came through them and the line of Cain came through the ship. I know what the book of Jasher says, but like I said, we can't take everything for the book of Jasher for seriously. The daughters of men, the sons of God. Could that have possibly happened on the ark? Yes.
I have a precept from the book of Jubilees. This is talking about where the descendants of what.
I haven't looked at Jubilee, so what you about to bring? Well, what you got?
Well, it talks about Cain and when they were dispersed of their own parts. They were given.
What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? We got a lot to go.
Chapter 8, verses 3 to 4.
Uh-huh.
This is Canaan. He found a writing which former generations had carved on the rock, and he read what was thereon, and he transcribed it and sinned owing to it. For it contained the teaching of the watchers in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and the moon and stars and all the signs of heaven. Verse 4, and he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be angry with him on account of it.
Who wrote that?
Jubilee.
No.
This was Canaan. This is the son of Ham.
Canaan. Wait,
Cain.
Hold up. Canaan, the son of Ham?
Yes. He saw the marking in the rock. He wrote it down and he transcribed it.
Okay. All right, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm speaking of. Well, I ain't got there yet. So when it comes to the flood, remember what it says in Genesis 6. Remember what we read in the book of Enoch. The sons of God married the daughters of men. Who was on the ark? Who was on the ark?
Noah, his wife,
And there was.
Right. Right. The sons of daughters and the sons of men and the daughters of men and the sons of God. Could that have been possible? That the daughters of men were on the ark and the sons of God were on the ark. And the knowledge and everything that was put forth, just because, remember, Noah was the only one that was righteous. Noah was the only one that was righteous. Let's go back to Genesis 6 chapter. Yes, I know. You're going to the book of Jasher. I know what the book of Jasher says, but that is not true. That's not incorrect. That's not correct.
That's not what we're talking about right now.
No, there's a scripture in the book of Jasher that talks about the men that talks about the ark. And that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that the sons of God married the daughters of men. So on the ark, let's go to Genesis, the 6th chapter. We were at verse 3. Read verse 4.
Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. So
Noah was living around this time. His children were living, his sons were living at this time. They saw this going on. Right? Keep reading. Next verse.
Verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Yep.
And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart.
Repented the Lord. Keep going.
And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them.
Okay, he's going to destroy everything. Keep going. He's going to destroy. Remember what he said. He didn't say he was going to destroy buildings. He said he was going to destroy man and beast. So that would mean that if he's going to destroy man and beast, we're taking Yeshaya for his word. That means that these cities and everything else would still be there. Keep reading.
But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
Who found grace in the eyes of the Lord?
Noah.
Noah's wife?
Noah.
Shem?
Noah.
Ham?
Noah.
Japheth?
Noah.
Their wives?
Noah.
Noah's wife.
Noah.
Noah was the only one. Read the verse again.
But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
Keep reading.
These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations.
Mm-hmm.
And Noah walked with God.
Mm-hmm.
And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Yes.
The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence.
Now, who was the one that was righteous on the earth? You see how the mark of Cain continued? Noah was only one. The Bible, if everyone was righteous, the Bible would say that Noah and his family. Doesn't it say something like that about Abraham and his descendants? Yeshaya also said that when it came to the flood, what was he going to destroy? Man, beast. Creepy crawly things. Cities was still there. See, that's when you could have got jubilees, but that's okay. You're eager beaver, right?
But we also see that after the flood, there still was a choice for that tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
That's right.
Because what was on the ark? The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
It both was there.
It still continued on.
Both was there. The lineage of Cain still was there.
So the lineage of Cain was through. But see, you'll have to remember that Noah and Methuselah, I think, didn't want to take a wife. But the Lord, Yeshaya, told them to take wives.
Right.
They didn't want to. They hadn't taken wives. But Yeshaya knew what he was going to do.
And Methuselah died before the deluge.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I say lineage, it's the spirit of Cain. It stayed on the ark.
Mm-hmm. Of good and evil knowledge.
Could have been the daughters. Could have been the sons.
Could have been Noah's wife.
Could have been Noah's wife. It could have been any one of them. Because the Bible only points at Noah being righteous. Yes?
It makes sense too, because after the ark and, when it landed and they got back out, they were still single and around. Like with the younger son.
They were single around?
No, sin. Because remember, they was laughing at his father's nakedness and stuff like that. They were still doing stuff afterwards.
Well, that wasn't they. It was only one.
Who was it?
It was only one.
Mm-hmm. It was still on the ship. Yeah. On the ark.
Yes, sir.
To back up what you're saying, Jasher 6:32 says, this is Yeshaya telling Noah what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt choose for thy sons 3 maidens from the daughters of men, and they shall be wives to thy sons. And Noah rose up and he made the ark in the place where God had commanded him, and Noah did as God had ordered him.
Yeah. So what happened?
Let me read that too.
What happened? We understand now that on the ark, not everybody was righteous.
Yeah.
The reason why Noah's sons and his wives were on the ark was because of Noah's righteousness, not because of their own.
But it's a scripture that says that if a man serve the Lord, that his offspring or something will be blessed or something like
It
that.
says blessed, but it doesn't call them righteous.
No, it didn't.
Right. It said
But
blessed.
it said that the man
Right.
that's righteous.
The
the
man
head,
that's
yeah.
righteous.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what happened.
Now y'all see how it continued. Y'all was saying some stuff.
Yeah.
It was a monument and it had some stuff inside, and they read it and they did it. That was funny.
70,
Where y'all read that at?
70 times 7. 70 times 7. The line of Cain was on the ark. Yeshua is gracious, though. He's gracious. Do we have a parallel anywhere else outside of Sodom and Gomorrah where all perfect that were saved were then destroyed? Post-flood, after the flood, the rule of Cain resumed.
But we knew that it was still sin on the ark if we really look at the story, because why did Noah have to put animals on there for sacrifice?
Interesting.
Didn't part of the animals he put on there was for
Sacrifice.
So why would he have to do that?
If there was no sin on the ark.
Yeah. It's right there. You just gotta read it. It's right there.
So, yep, right after the flood, the lineage of Cain continues. His hand continues. The Great Depression, great evil. People get arrested. You know who caused the Great Depression, right? We all know that if you're history, you know who caused the Great Depression.
The 1%.
Yeah, we'll just say that. The 1%. So now the lineage of Cain through blood goes through Ham. Goes through Ham.
Because he's sinned right off the bat. We know Noah drank the juice, the wine.
We're gonna go.
Drunk,
yeah, we're gonna go to the antiquity. We're gonna go to the Josephus, Antiquity of the Jews. Let's find out about Nimrod. Book 1, chapter 1, section 2. Antiquity of the Jews. That's in the Josephus. Book 1, chapter 1, section 2. We're going to read that. Let's see the line of Noah, the lineage of Cain continuing through Nimrod. All right, let's read that.
Starting at 1. I'm
Yep.
sorry, 34.
Yep, the whole section 2. The whole section 2.
Adam and Eve had 2 sons. The elder of them was named Cain, which name, when it is interpreted, signifies a possession. The younger was Abel, which signifies sorrow. They had also.
Is that book 1?
Oh yeah, that's book 1. It's chapter. You had chapter 2. You had chapter 1.
Oh.
Yeah, book 1, chapter 1, section 2.
Moreover, Moses, after the seventh day was over, begins to talk philosophically, and concerning the formation of man says thus, that God took dust from the ground and formed man, and inserted in him a spirit and a soul. This man was called Adam, which is in the Hebrew tongue signifies one that is red, because he was formed out of red earth. But compounded together, for of that kind is virgin and true earth. God also represented the living creatures when he had made them according to their kind, both male and female, to Adam, who gave them those names by which they are still called. But when he saw that Adam had no female companion, no society, for there was no such created, and that he wondered at the other animals which were male and female, he laid him asleep and took away one of his ribs, and out of it formed the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Whereupon Adam knew her when she was brought to him, and acknowledged that she was made out of him. Now woman is called in the Hebrew tongue Issa, which the name of the woman was Eve, but signifies the mother of all living.
Mm-hmm. So, Nimrod. We're going to get to him. Was that it for section 2? That should be.
Yes.
Section 2 was pretty short. Nimrod, great strength, great power, persuaded his people. Their toys, prescribed them to Yeshua. And he made them to believe that it was their courage, their power, their happiness. It's the same philosophy today, also same philosophy that the government uses today. Tyranny. The same mindset of Nimrod is the same mindset that goes today. And we're going to show that. Turning the fear of God to the fear of man. It's the same thing that went on today that started off with Nimrod, who was from the lineage of Ham. Same thing. Let's stay in book 1, chapter 2. We're going to section 3, and we're reading verses 115 to 118. All right, let's read that.
Section 3 starts at 67.
This is just section 3. Book 1, let me see. Book 1, chapter 2. What was it? Book 1, chapter 2.
Chapter 4 starts at verse 115 for Tower Battle.
Yeah, that's
Chapter 4.
It's chapter 4.
Yeah, section 3.
Section 3 starts at 115.
Yeah, that's what it is. Chapter 4, section 3, starting at 115 to 118.
Now the multitude was very ready to follow the determination of Nimrod, and to esteem it a piece of cowardice to submit to God.
See that? You are a coward if you submit to Yeshua. You submit to Nimrod. Is it not the same today? Keep reading, please.
And they built a tower, neither sparing any pains, nor being in any degree negligent about the work. And by reason of the multitude of hands employed in it, it grew very high sooner than anyone could expect. But the thickness of it was so great, and it was so strongly built, that thereby it was great height seen upon the view.
Yeah, because what he said is that he said that God is not going to flood the earth no more. We're going to make it upon ourselves to build a tower so that he will never drown the world again. And we're going to build that tower so high that the waters won't be able to reach the top. These are Masons.
That's what it happened. You don't understand.
That's Mason. It's masonry. Let's continue on, please.
It was built of burnt brick, cemented together with mortar, made of bitumen, that it might not be liable to admit water.
It might not be liable to admit water. They made it waterproof. This is the man who's in authority.
She was telling me about the pyramids now. I didn't put two and two together.
This is a man who's in authority, who challenges God, and not in a good way. He begins his rule as the legitimate heir and power, and he has power over the children of disobedience. They made it waterproof. So there was no way that Yeshua is going to do this again to us. Keep reading.
When God saw that they acted so madly, he did not resolve to destroy them utterly, since they were not growing wiser by the destruction of the former sinners. But he caused a tumult against them by producing in them diverse languages, and causing that through the multitude of those languages they should not be able to understand one another.
So when people are doing wrong, and they were doing wrong, Yeshua did not destroy them. He could have destroyed them, but he did not do that. He could have struck them down, every single one of them, but he made a promise to Noah. He could have did that. But he said, because of their ignorance, I am not going to do that. They were ignorant in what they were doing. They did not know. They did not understand. Not they did not know. I take that back. They did not understand what happened prior to the deluge. That's why they're operating like that. So instead of me inflicting them, I'll just make these speak this language. Make them speak this language. That's the mercy of Yeshua. Keep reading, please.
The place wherein they built the tower is now called Babylon, because of the confusion of that language, which they readily understood before. For the Hebrews mean by the word Babel, confusion. The Sybil also makes mention of this tower and of the confusion of the language, when she says thus: when all men were of one language, some of them built a high tower, as if they would thereby ascend up to heaven. But the gods sent storms of wind and overthrew the tower, and gave everyone his peculiar language. And for this reason, it was that city was called Babylon.
Freemasonry. In Morals and Dogma and in other esoteric writings, it says that the Tower of Babel was the start of their enterprise.
But it makes sense because, like, when we were doing this lesson, and Mother was showing me, she was saying the pyramids, and I didn't understand what she was trying to show me. But if these pyramids was built, the Tower of Babel was built with burnt bricks, waterproof. Was these pyramids that's been put all over the world that they have had the children of Israel to build? They have stored artifacts in there. Was it not waterproof?
Yep.
So what's
and we're going to get to the Egyptians in just a moment.
I didn't understand what Mother was trying to show me. I kept telling Shepherd, I keep hearing pyramids, but I couldn't figure it out. I'm like,
Yeah, we'll get to the Egyptians in a
now
minute.
we know. We have a question.
Yes.
So, when Nimrod built Babylon, right? He wasn't told to build the city, but he did. So that comes from way before when Enoch, the Enoch, not Enoch that walked with the Most High, the other one that we read in Scripture in Genesis, when he built the city and named it. When Cain built, does that come from that?
What happened was the sin was so great in the earth, and Nimrod was this mighty hunter, a man of strength. People moved to his city and they paid him for protection.
Right, because remember, Nimrod did not start off evil.
Yeah.
No, he was really protecting the people. But Nimrod got an ego, you know?
Yeah.
The line of Cain.
And then he stole the garments. He stole something. What's that name?
Yeah.
Adam,
Yeah. He stole
the sacrifice.
the sacrifice. And then as people started moving into his city and paying him, he got a God complex. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It was only a matter of time before the lineage of Cain rised itself up. And what better way than masonry?
Yeah.
Ooh, now that-
Going all the way back to Enoch.
Oh my God, that is
Masonry. And Freemasons say that the Tower of Babel was the start of their enterprise with the Tower of Babel. Enoch, then other writers trace it back to Nimrod, but it's the same thing. It's just post-flood versus pre-flood. And the Tower of Babel is depicted as a Masonic enterprise. Pike regards the Masonry Babel as represented as the Masonic enterprise. The Tower of Babel, the most ancient of traditions of Masonry. Don't make any question about it. This book right here goes into Nimrod.
Yeah.
Cush. Cush, in their constitution, was called the founder of Masonry. Sculptures, architect, city dwellers.
Yeah.
A little old country mouse like us would not hold up to these city dwellers. Making towns out of masonry.
We was tent people, desert people.
Nimrod was a mason himself. They love building things. Enoch loved building things. Cush loved building things. Nimrod loved building things.
Government.
And in fact, the seven wonders of the world, what's one of them? Not the pyramids. What's another one, rather? Who? Niagara Falls. Strike one.
Those songs, whatever songs.
I'm guessing
Stonehenge?
Not Stonehenge.
The
Giant rocks.
That's Stonehenge.
The Sphinx.
Not the Sphinx.
It's
The-
the garden in Babylon.
Yes.
Say it again.
The garden in Babylon.
The Hanging Gardens in Babylon. Isn't that one of the seven wonders of the world? Who built it? Let's see something else also. Going a little off topic. Morals and dogma. Let's read pages 23 to 25. This is the Messianic 10 Commandments.
Oh, Lord.
Now we're starting to form an idea of the lineage of Cain. Builders. That's one part of it. We're going to see these builders throughout.
And people say, oh, the pyramids, the aliens built them.
The slaves built them.
No, it was built on slave labor. Let's read that. Morals and Dogma, pages 23 to 25.
Page 23. Our brethren of the York Rite say that there is represented in every well-governed lodge a certain point within a circle. The point representing an individual brother, the circle, the boundary line of his conduct, beyond which he is never to suffer his prejudices or passions to betray him.
Mm-hmm.
This is not to interpret the symbols of masonry. It is said by some, with a nearer approach to interpretation, that the point within the circle represents God in the center of the universe. It is a common Egyptian sign for the sun and Osiris, and is still used as the astronomical sign of the great luminary.
Mm-hmm.
In the Kabbalah, the point is Yod, the creative energy of God.
Wait, who is it again?
Yod, the creative energy of God. Irradiating with light the circular space which God, the universal light, left vacant, wherein to create the world by withdrawing his substance of light back on all sides from one point. Our brethren add that the circle is embroidered by two perpendicular parallel lines, representing St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist.
Do I have that checked off? Page 23 to 25.
No.
Give me the book. Give me the book. Give me the book. Give me the book.
I know, right? Oh.
No, I don't have it checked off. You should have told me that I didn't have it checked off because you're reading something that's not correct. Thank you very much.
No, we did that.
That's my highlighter.
Oh.
All right, you're going to start on page 23, the Holy Scriptures, and then you're going to end after the 10th commandment where it says I put a little mark there. All right, because I'm wondering, wait a minute. Yod. Yeah, let me know if it's not marked off. All right, now let's read 10 Commandments.
The Holy Scriptures are an entirely modern addition to the symbol, like the terrestrial and celestial globes on the columns of the portico. Thus, the ancient symbol has been denaturalized by incongruous additions, like that of Isis weeping over the broken column containing the remains of Osiris at Byblos.
Mm-hmm.
Masonry has its Decalogue, which is a law to its initiates.
Mm-hmm.
These are its 10 commandments.
Here are the 10 commandments of the Masons. 10 commandments of Cain. Let's read it.
1. Symbol earth. God is the eternal, omnipotent, immutable wisdom, and supreme intelligence and exhaustless love. Thou shalt adore, revere, and love him. Thou shalt honor him by practicing the virtues.
Mm-hmm.
2.
Mm-hmm.
Symbol, the full moon. Thy religion shall be to do good because it is a pleasure to thee, and not merely because it is a duty. That thou mayest become the friend of the wise man, thou shalt obey his precepts. Thy soul is immortal, thou shalt do nothing to degrade it.
If you did not know the Bible and you came across a Mason and they were reading this to you, what would you think? Number 3.
Symbol, earth. Thou shalt unceasingly war against vice. Thou shalt not do unto others that which thou wouldest not wish them to do unto thee. Thou shalt be submissive to thy fortunes and keep burning the light of wisdom. 4. Symbol, full moon. Thou shalt honor thy parents. Thou shalt pay respect and homage to the aged.
Even the heathens say, honor your parents. Isn't that interesting? Keep going.
Thou shalt instruct the young. Thou shalt protect and defend infancy and innocence. 5. Symbol, earth. Thou shalt cherish thy wife and thy children. Thou shalt love thy country and obey its laws. 6. Symbol, full moon. Thy friend shall be to thee a second self. Misfortune shall not estrange thee from him. Thou shalt do for his memory whatever thou wouldest do for him if he were living.
They're not going that far off. You have to understand that they believe that this is the way to live. They're not going that far off. If you were expecting some kind of wild and crazy doctrine, you're mistaken.
Exactly. I'm gonna be praying to Satan.
Right. You were way off. This is how they operate. Keep reading.
7. Symbol, earth. Thou shalt avoid and flee from insincere friendships. Thou shalt in everything refrain from excess. Thou shalt fear to be the cause of a strain on thy memory.
You know they're getting this from the Bible, right? Keep reading.
8. Symbol, full moon. Thou shalt allow no passions to become thy master. Thou shalt make the passions of other profitable lessons to thyself. Thou shalt be indulgent to error. 9. Symbol, earth. Thou shalt hear much. Thou shalt speak little. Thou shalt act well. Thou shalt forget injuries. Thou shalt render good for evil. Thou shalt not misuse either thy strength or thy superiority.
Be slow to speak, quick to listen.
Correct. Keep going.
10. Symbol, full moon. Thou shalt study to know men, that thereby thou mayest learn to know thyself. Thou shalt ever seek after virtue. Thou shalt be just. Thou shalt avoid idleness. But the great commandment of masonry is this: a new commandment give I unto you, that ye love one another. He that saith he is in the light and hateth his brother remaineth still in the darkness.
I told you. Listen to what they're saying. If you had never read the Bible and someone says that this is a better life for you and started reading Morals and Dogma and started going through the 10 Commandments of Freemasonry, you'll be caught. Hundreds and hundreds of years of this. You will be caught. This is how they operate. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through history. And we're going to go to various points of ruling powers, superpowers. And we're going to see the parallel with the same power in every stop that we make. The very same power that started with Nimrod, or better yet, started with Enoch. To rule over the children of disobedience. Those who choose their own way, those who choose their own worship.
Children of disobedience.
They worship their own way to God. The Egyptians and Moses the third. Moses the third. No, not King Tut. King Tut was not Moses the third for sure. Him was not a good person. Tutmosis. Yes, sir.
So is it similar to? I just forgot my comparison. No. That was quick.
Wow, that's disheartening right now. I ain't trying to dishearten. Let's get. Oh, I'm sure it's going to be something. All right, maybe we'll pray that the Lord bring it back to you. Tutmosis. You know who Tutmosis is, right? No.
No.
Wow. You only know King Tut.
I said I only know a few tuts.
What Tuts do you know?
Tuck, tuck.
King Tut, really? Tutmosis. Let's see Tutmosis. Let's go to Exodus chapter 5, verses 4 and 5. Tutmosis the third.
You could have said Tutmosis the second or the first.
No, that wouldn't be right then. It would be wrong.
You talking about Moses?
Tutmosis the third. I did not say Moses. Tutmosis. Moses was not a pharaoh. What's wrong with she?
Oh, so tut is another word for pharaoh.
I'm paying you from asking questions.
You just said tut.
That's his name, Tutmosis.
You said
Tutmosis. One name. Tutmosis.
He was a pharaoh.
Tutmosis the third. That was his name.
was it Pharaoh Tutmosis?
Sure. Let's go with that. Pharaoh Tutmosis. Pharaoh's the title. His name was Tutmosis. Like Ramses. Ramses the second. Ramses the third. You got it? Julius Caesar. Let's read it. Yes, like the Caesars.
There was a couple of Tuts as well.
Right. There was a few Tutmoses. Right. All right. All right. So mark it down. We maybe do a history lesson
Now we're getting somewhere.
on the kings of Egypt. Let's read this. This is Tutmosis the third.
Exodus chapter 5, verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the king of Egypt said unto them, Wherefore do ye, Moses and Aaron, let the people from their works get you unto your burdens?
Mm-hmm.
And Pharaoh said, Behold, the people of the land now are many, and ye make them rest from their burdens.
He's the one who said, is the Lord that I should obey the voice? He was the Napoleon of Egypt. He was a great lawmaker. Nobody stood in his way. He would destroy them. He made the anti-Sabbath law. You remember when he said, you will not rest. You will not shut up. You will not keep the Sabbath. You will not rest. But you will get your burdens. Who's this guy? Him. Tutmosis. It was him. I know people say it was Ramses II. No, it was not Ramses II. Know your history. It was not Ramses II. Ramses II came later.
He was the one to let my people go, Pharaoh.
No, this is the let my people go Pharaoh. This was to let my people go.
Okay.
This was the one who said no, yes, no, yes. No. No. This guy.
Okay, so now we know his name is Tutmosis.
He made laws which counted on Yeshaya's law. He was in authority. He was in authority. Yeshaya permitted him to rule.
Oh yeah.
Yeshaya permitted him to rule. Yeshaya permitted him to put the children of Israel in slavery. Yeshaya did that. And what did he use to put the children of Israel in slavery? He made them make pyramids, i.e., masonry. Yeshaya permitted him to rule until he overstepped the mark. He was in authority of Egypt. The Egyptian terms of government was all under his authority.
He lost his mind.
And he was dominant even over his own children. They were subject to the were the children of Israel subject to the rules of Egypt? Yes, no, maybe. Yes, they were subject to the rules of Egypt. Did this Pharaoh have power over the children of Israel? Yes, he had power. He enslaved them. Yes, he enslaved them. Did he have power to oppress them? Yes. He had power to oppress them. But there's a limit. 70 times 7. You understand? There was a limit. What he said is that when your time is up, you will be eradicated. Let's go from Egypt to Assyria. The Assyrians. We all know the grisly story, the grisly history, the very barbaric history of the Assyrians. They were in power. Even the name Assyria would put terror in people. And they preserved it to show that they were powerful, to show that they were mighty. Inscriptions, pictures, military campaigns, military battles. What happens when you look at the news today? What do you see? Military campaigns, military battles. You see this today. You see terrorist groups who in Afghanistan and Iran and Iraq would put fear, Syria would put fear in the just by their name. Could the Assyrians be the world's first terrorist? The horrific things that they did. Assyrian torture. Taking a pole and inserting it in a certain place and pulling you down.
Well, it's a pole or something in front of them.
Yes. Well,
Got a question on the chat.
but the Assyrians. So this is power. This is power. They rule over the children of disobedience. They dominated the children of Israel. They had military power, and they exercised that power over the children of Israel. Same thing with the Egyptians.
Babylon.
They did that over the children of God. Northern tribes really felt the brunt of this. Driving people through spikes. This is a 14th century depiction. And what is this a depiction of? It's still driving them. There's the spike.
Mhm.
There's the person. There's the Assyrian soldier. There's the Assyrian soldier. Right there.
Those are the beginning stages of crucifixion. The impaling them through the chest and the stomach.
150 miles from Baghdad. Not that far away from Baghdad. Torture. Another depiction. Ripping skin off of people while they were alive.
What happened to one of the apostles? One of the apostles
Ripping the
was
skin off
skinned
of
alive.
people.
Yeah.
That's what this is. You see, they're depicting the art with the man holding the legs. That's not him holding that's not technically him just holding his legs. That's them peeling the skin. As you can see, the bones here. These are the Assyrian warriors.
That's a kid.
This
Some little
is
kids right there.
power. This is authority. If you do not obey by my rules, I will kill you. I will destroy you. Remember Nimrod? I'm sorry, not Nimrod. Manasseh? What they do to him before they dragged him to prison? What did they do to him?
Put hooks in his nose.
So, Assyria is built on military might, military power. Those who oppose Assyria were dealt with quickly. Devastation. They ran roughshod all over Mesopotamia. Beheadings. This is a beheading. Not like the medieval beheadings where they put you through a guillotine. They just drive it through the back of your neck and they saw until your head was taken off. This was their army. And after they do that, they take all the treasures and everything. They made sure that the land was desolate. They took everything.
Original gangsters.
Because they had to pay for more conquest. And how do you pay for more conquest in the ancient days? You annihilate an entire land.
Mm-hmm.
They were the children of disobedience. And they were given authority by Yeshua. They weren't given authority by Satan, as so many people believe.
And Yeshua,
they was given authority by Yeshua.
And Yeshua used them when the children of Israel
was disobedient. Yes.
That happened with Babylon. Or that's what
we're going there. We're not there yet.
But it happened till this day.
You see Assyrian armies decapitating people, strung up on poles, spears through the body, the cruelest of cruelties.
But what did they do?
And people were afraid.
Yeah.
People were terrified of these guys. They were terrified. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to go into who the Assyrians are today. They're wicked and evil people. I don't know who the Assyrians are today. I don't know who they are. It doesn't matter who they are. The point I'm getting at is that these Assyrians had the mark of Cain. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, Lamech 70 times 7. If you don't fall subject to us, we'll show you what kind of power we are. Because we have the authority. We have the power. And we got the power directly from Yeshua. Roman law, Roman governments.
Mm-hmm.
You break one transgression of ours, and we will annihilate you. We will destroy you. Our moral deeds is none of your business. But if you break our laws, we will hunt you down. We will destroy you. Does that ring a bell? The Roman Empire. Let's talk about the Roman Empire next. We're going to get back to Babylon, the Babylon Empire in a moment. But I want you to see something with the Egyptians. Slavery. Do what I say, or else you pay the consequence. No Sabbath law, changing the laws. No Sabbath for you. But Assyrians, terrorism on the highest level. Now we have the Romans. What did the Romans do? They had lions, they had a Colosseum, and they had people. You were crucified on the cross or eaten alive if you did not follow their rules. Right? Look at the buildings of Rome. Look at the Colosseum. It's still there. Whip you like they did Yeshua, but whip you until your insides were hanging out. Crucifixion. The Romans made the crucifixion an art. And this guy ruled with power, had the power to rule. Herod the Great. The mark of Cain. How does Herod the Great have the mark of Cain? How is that? Let's take a look at Herod the Great. He was a madman. I think we all know. He was a madman. He murdered his own family. Great many rabbis that he had murdered. Because he had the power to do so. Ruled over Yeshua. Did he rule over Yeshua's people? Yes. Yep. He ruled over Yeshua's people. Did he produce laws against Yeshua's people? Yes. Did he torture Yeshua's people? Yes. Did he put Yeshua's people in slavery? Yes. He did all that. Look at what he built. Look at what he built. The temple. Herod's temple. Look at what he built. The evil genius. He committed crimes to satisfy his ambition. And what does the children of Cain or the lineage of Cain like to do the best? Build. To show their might, to show their power. They like to build.
Like the pyramids.
Exactly. Like the Tower of Babel, like the pyramids, like the Hanging Gardens in Babylon. They like to build. Just like going all the way back to Nimrod.
But isn't the pyramids connected to the so-called Illuminati and stuff like that?
I mean, in that part, yeah, but that's not. That's like
Well, I'm just
the
saying
whole.
today, but that's not.
No, that's not what we're getting at.
Yeah, because when they talk about the pyramids now, they try to talk about the different layers of
that's
of people.
yeah,
That's not true.
That's Illuminati crap.
Yeah, that's not true.
I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the Bible, the historical atlas of the Bible.
They just putting the pyramids was them putting their mark in the earth.
Correct. The mark of Cain.
The mark of Cain. It don't have nothing to do with the different layers of the eye of Horus and.
Hold on for that.
Well,
for
it
a
did,
second.
but the original, when the pyramids was made, it was to show.
It was to show his power.
His power. His mark.
It was to show their power. It was to show their mark, just like Nimrod, to show his mark, just like the Assyrians to show their mark, the Babylonians to show their mark, the Greeks to show their mark. We'll get to the Greeks in a moment too. The Romans to show their mark. And how through the Romans did they oppress us? How did that happen? How did Rome oppress us? Through Herod, through the lineage of Herod. All right, let's read that. Historical Atlas of the Bible. We're going to read pages 256 and 257. That should be marked.
The brief period of peace was short-lived, as Rome itself slid into civil war again, and consequently its rule over Palestine weakened.
You sound kind of faint. Go ahead.
The brief period of peace was short-lived, as Rome itself slid into civil war again, and consequently its rule over Palestine weakened.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Roman Senate named the political astute Herod, who was probably half Jewish, king of Judea in 40 BC. Herod conquered his kingdom 3 years later with the aid of Roman soldiers and ruled it for the next 31 years as a puppet king of Rome. He subdued his unruly kingdom and his own treacherous family with ruthless cruelty.
He was a cruel man. Keep going.
Backed by his own army and established fortresses in many parts of his kingdom.
So he had his own army. Remember, the mark of Cain. And not only did he have his own army, well, what did it say?
And established fortresses in many parts of his kingdom.
Established fortresses, builders. That mark continues. Keep reading.
Where he could find security in times of trouble. During his uneasy period of peace, Herod built new cities and provided buildings for every kind of different civic need, from baths, theaters, and gymnasiums to a temple for an emperor worship, and above all, a magnificent rebuilding of the temple itself, the central symbol of Hebrew religion. It was all done through forced labor and extortionate taxation.
It was done through forced labor and extreme taxes. The mark of Cain. The mark of Cain through King Herod. Who did he have that taxation against?
Israel.
The children of Israel. Forced labor. Who? Israel. Keep going.
The diversity of buildings points to the deep differences between Jewish groups during the whole New Testament period. The Herods and their supporters, the Herodians, remained a major force in Palestinian politics until the Jewish War of 66 to 70 AD.
Oh, yeah. Herodians were not, that wasn't Herod's line. There were two different lines. People say that the Herodians were Herod. No, they weren't. They were separate. They were a separate group, a whole separate entity from the lineage of Herod. Herod was well, we're not going to continue to say he was nuts. Keep reading.
but most of Hebrew Palestine, Judea, and Samaria was put under the direct rule of Roman procurators in 6 AD.
Now, this man was cruel, a cruel ruler, but he had rule over God's people. God's people were subject to him, building a temple. Powerful man of the Herodian dynasty. Oops. Yes. Oh, I thought somebody had their hand up. He died and then his kingdom was split. Herod Antipas. His kingdom, when he died, was split. Herod, he considered himself a Jewish man, even though he was Idumean. He was an Edomite. Could we say that there are some people who consider themselves Hebrew of the Hebrew faith, and they are not Hebrew of the Hebrew faith? Some people that believe in the laws of the Torah and do not consider them. Can we say that today? We're going to go to Romans 9 and 13. And Canis Antipas appointed Herod governor, 25 years old. This is the Herod who had John the Baptist beheaded. He was ruthless. 2 years later, his nephew took over. Because this Herod, he fled to Rome. Because there was an uprising. He pleaded with Rome to restore him the power. So he came back to Rome. Came back to Jerusalem. And guess what Uncle did? Murdered his nephew. They're ruthless. They care about power. That's what they care about. They don't care about family. They don't care about anything. The Herods were a soap opera of madness. Romans 9 and 13. Let's read that.
Romans chapter 9, verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
So we understand that Yeshua hated the mindset of Esau. The mindset of Esau. That's what he hated. Herod claimed to rule over Yeshua's people. And he had the mindset to rule over Yeshua's people. But did Yeshua allow him to rule over over his people?
Well,
Getting tired, huh, everybody?
No.
Tuckered out. Nobody answered. Yes. Yes. He had the power to rule over Yeshua's people. Was he, and did he lead the government? Yes, he did. What happened? Later on, another Herod came on the scene. This Herod needed the backing of Rome. We're going to go to Matthew 2 and 18. This Herod needed the backing of Rome. And this Herod needed Mark Antony and the help of Mark Antony to take over Rome. So what did he do? Had the person on the throne killed. And then this Herod took over. 3 years of fighting, and this Herod was put on the throne. Let's read Matthew 2 and 18 really quick.
Matthew chapter 2, verse 18.
Mm-hmm.
In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they are not.
Rachel, Jacob, weeping for her children. Weeping for her children.
Where's Rachel?
Israel, weeping for her children. This is going back to Herod the Great. Murderers of little children, so that Yeshua get out. Did Herod the Great? Yeah, murderers of children. Murders of children. Yeshua had to get out.
Oh.
Murders of children. He persecuted Yeshua's children. Highest children. Let's say because Yeshua was down here now. Does Herod hate anyone who is godly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does he have the mindset of Cain? The same power of Cain? This symbol right here, guess where this symbol was? On top of the temple. The temple entrance that Herod built, he put this on it. You know what that is?
Isn't that
Morals and
also-
dogma.
Yeah, similar to that symbol on that book.
It's a masonry symbol. Masonry.
It's masonry symbol. On the temple. Dedicating it to Rome. Not to Yeshua. He didn't care about Yeshua. He cared about Rome. So when he built the temple, he made sure he paid homage to Rome. The Hebrews at that time, they thought this was sacrilege, but they had no power to do anything about it. No power. We can say that there's sacrilege that goes on today. Do we have power to do anything about it? No, we don't. It's the same thing. The same thing.
I just look gay.
If you came against them, you were dragged in chains, burned, crucified, because he was in authority. He was in power.
It'd be hard to take him serious.
Cruelty. But that's the Herodian mindset. And where did the Herodian mindset come from? The mind of Cain. This goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden, and this chain is unbroken. It is not broken. Throughout history, we have seen the Herodian mindset. Throughout all of history. We're going to go to the historical atlas of the Bible, and we're going to read page 337. Now, I chose Herod to show the mindset of Cain. To show the mindset of Cain and how Cain and his lineage continues to operate even today. Yeshua granted Cain a mark, and that mark continues through history. Cain authority that was given to him was given to Enoch, was given to Nimrod, was given to the Egyptians, was given to the Assyrians, was given to the Babylonians, was given to the Persians, was given to the Greeks, was given to Rome, and was given to a group today.
So don't get it mixed up where you think that the mark is on people who sin.
No, it's not.
If somebody sinning or a sinner. These people are a whole new other type of wrong.
They're a whole new type of Rome. And we're going to see something about that whole new type of wrong. Yes. Okay, so that's a question on the chat. Is the Assyrians modern-day Germans? No, modern-day Germans are Ashkenaz. Okay, those are the Ashkenazis. Those are modern-day Germans. Those are not Assyrians. Who had a question?
I did.
Yes.
So is the spirit of Cain, what it appears to me seems to be directly in some way, shape, or form coming against the children of Israel, against the, for a better way to say it, the sons of God.
Yes, in this aspect, yes.
Because
but soon we're going to see through history that it changes and it goes against everybody. But yes, in the biblical, because I wanted to point out the biblical, because it was all over the place. They didn't care whether you was Israel or if you was Syrian or if you was from North Africa or if you were from Ethiopia. They did not care. But I wanted to show the aspect of Cain through how it affected us. But
even in history, though, those are the major events. Those are the world powers that you even learn about in history.
Yeah, it is.
And I mean, you don't learn about Napoleon Bonaparte and what he did, or Alexander.
We're not gonna talk about Napoleon, but Napoleon had that same Cain mindset. He had that, not Napoleon Dynamite. Not Napoleon Dynamite. Napoleon. Yeah. Him had something else wrong with him. But Napoleon had that Cain mindset. He had that Cain mindset. Yes. Who? Where? No? Yeah. All right. Bible Atlas, page 337. Let's read that.
In granting recognition to Christianity in 313, the Emperor Constantine hoped that Christianity would unite all his subjects in the common faith and help withstand the barbarian incursions. For the Roman Empire was beginning to disintegrate.
Yeah, this time the barbarians were a ruthless people. Can you name one barbarian? One barbarian. Very famous barbarian. Not Conan. I think that was a TV show. One famous barbarian, yes. Who? Oh, goodness. People, stay out of the TV. It wasn't Beowulf. No. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was a thorn in the Roman Empire. No, he wasn't a Neanderthal. He was ruthless. Oh, he was ruthless. Genghis Khan was a terror to the Romans. More to the fact, true fact, real quick. More to the fact that the Roman Caesars had to pay tribute to Genghis Khan. Yes, they had to pay tribute to Genghis Khan because Genghis Khan was a madman, but he loved his people. He loved his people. He had Let's continue on reading in that. I don't want to get off topic. Genghis Khan, I'm not going to say he had the mark of Cain. I don't know. Let's continue. In fact, if you are a dictator, you got the mark of Cain. A dictator is equivalent to the mark of Cain, but we're going to see even greater dictator. Yes, an even greater dictator. Yes, let's continue.
Freedom from fear of official interference allowed resentment to surface against Christians who had submitted to the Romans' laws against Christianity. Even though a church synod ruled that there should be no rejection of the lapsed who wished to return. A more serious split amongst Christians developed from Alexandria, where a controversy raged about the exact status of Yeshua as God, and spread throughout the Eastern churches. the emperor Constantine convened the Council of Nicaea in 325. He set out the basic beliefs of Christianity in a creed for universal acceptance.
Now, those who understand what the Council of Nicaea was, he wasn't saying, oh, this is what Christian is about. What he said is that we're going to mix Roman with Christianity because I need to keep my subjects, and also I want new subjects. Constantine had the mark of Cain.
The guy before him that killed all the Israelites, he set them on fire.
Okay.
What was his name?
Set them on fire. That was Nero. And
Nero.
That was that was right before. That was like about 45 BC, right before. What is his name? Oh, what is his name? I forget it. Let's continue.
But the reason why they did it because they saw that it was so many Israelites, and he saw that he couldn't control them.
Right.
So he started killing them, burning them up.
Mm-hmm.
But Constantine decided to go a different way.
Right.
And so that's when he decided to mix the way with Roman.
Right. If you can't beat them, join
them. And then he actually started paying. That's when the money came about with the priests and the churches and the bishops and things like that. And what happened was our people started going towards that. And what happened, the ones that did not, that wanted to keep themselves apart from Constantine, that they went out into the tombs in different places. That's where you get your monks from. That's how the monks came about. They were separating themselves from the church from Constantine.
Right. And let's continue reading that.
Nicaea was followed by 6 more ecumenical councils during the following 4.5 centuries to try to settle further controversies and establish a form of Christianity agreed by all Christians. They met at Constantinople in 381, Ephesus at 431, Chalcedon 451, Constantinople again at 553 and 680, and Nicaea at 787. Inevitably, the Christians adopted much of the administrative organization of the Roman Empire, if only because it provided convenient and natural geographical division and symbols of authority, even in such matters as ceremonial dress familiar to all.
Symbol of authority. I will take my authority and I will use it however I see fit.
And so that's when they had their doctors back then, because if people were sick or needed anything, when Constantine built up the church, they would go to the bishops for medication, for medicine, things like that. And if they wasn't praying healing or deliverance, they were administrating medication to them.
325 AD is the start of the beast system, which what we know today.
So
when it came to Constantine, if you did not follow these rules, you were dealt with. You were dealt with. Because I am the one who will mix Christianity and Rome together. I am the one. And whatever I say goes. That's the mindset of Herod. That's the mindset of the Romans, the mindset of Greeks, going all the way back to Cain.
There's tyrants. Messiah is nothing like that.
Herodias, remember her? She had John the Baptist beheaded. She was part of that tyranny. She was part of that tyranny with Herod Antipas. Can you imagine the king or the prince of this universe arrayed like an earthly monarch sitting on a throne? No. But they were permitted to do this by Yeshua. Remember what Lamech said. If Cain is sevenfold, Lamech shall be 70 times 7. Remember he said that. Huh?
Why did he say that?
This is why. We're going through why he said it. We're showing why he says it. There was a reason why I skipped over Babylon. The Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar set up the system himself. Nebuchadnezzar had a secret police department. And he knew everything that happened in his kingdom. Everything. Who else has a secret police department today? Everything that he knew about his kingdom. They would report to him, and then what he would do is take those dissidents and throw them in the furnace. No matter if his soldiers died or not. Throw them in the furnace. I don't care if my soldiers die in the process. I don't care what happens. My rule stands. He was cruel. He set up a counterfeit system of religion. Did Yeshua give him an opportunity to repent? Yes, he did. Nineveh, which were the Assyrians. The ruler. Jonah preaching. The cruelest of rulers was Nebuchadnezzar.
You think he was the cruelest?
Oh, he was cruel.
More than Assyrians?
More than Assyrians? Babylonians took over the Assyrians. Right?
Yeah.
Babylonians were cruel beyond cruel. If you do not take my laws, worship my gods, I will destroy you. At least the Assyrians, they didn't care about gods. They just wanted loot and you dead. Him, he wanted loot, you dead, follow his gods.
Worship him.
Worship him. Is that not the mark of Cain? He made war with everybody until it was 100% peace in Babylon. Secret police. Does Yeshua care about these rulers? Yes, because he put them in charge. Yeshua put them in charge. I will put a crown of thorns on his head and beat him over the head. Isn't that what happened to our Lord and Savior? Over and over and over again. That is the Herodian mindset. That's the mindset of Cain. What they did to Yeshua shows that they hate godly people. They hate people who follow Yeshua. If you speak out against us, we will destroy you. We will take you down. These are the children of Cain. We're going to go to the 2 Babylons, and we're going to read the 2 Babylons. Is not out here. Could you go get it, please? I apologize for that. I know Tahara got you, buckled down and everything. Yeah, I know.
So you know what I'm saying? There's a difference between a dictator, someone that has the spirit of Cain, versus someone who is an evil person.
Mm-hmm.
The dictators that, or the people, whoever has the spirit of Cain, they've been given this by Yeshua, and they pretty much when you look at these people who was like, man, they dominated, they controlled.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at somebody who was just evil, say Hitler, maybe he didn't control anything, dominate anything. He just did a bunch of wicked, evil stuff. And so you kind of, it's almost seems, and I don't know if, I mean, maybe he does have the spirit of Cain, but it almost seems a difference between the spirit of Cain and it's almost like cancer, if you think about it, where it's trying to eat, and cancer doesn't destroy, cancer makes everything else cancer, whereas that evil just wanted to kill. And it seems like these people that have the spirit of Cain, it's not, I want to kill and destroy everything, it's I want everything to follow after me. It's almost a personification of what Satan did when he was kicked out of heaven. You know, it was that it's my power, my control. So we're talking about the mark of Cain, but it's literally the personification of Satan.
It's a good analogy for Hitler. I would not consider Hitler to have a Cain mindset, because there was laws. Hitler did not establish laws per se. Hitler did not have to build buildings per se. But are there dictators who have the Cain mindset? Yes. If you look at Idi Amin,
What about
Putin, no. If you look at Idi Amin, that's the personification of a Cain mindset. He had thousands of people murdered who did not follow him. Muammar Gaddafi, that was a mindset of Cain. He had extravagant buildings built. He had his own police force, which, by the way, was 100% women. Women. And they were nothing to play around with.
I don't like men.
Oh no, they were nothing to play with. If you read, or if you've read anything about Muammar Gaddafi, those women were part of his police force. They were nothing to play with. They were worse than soldiers. They were very evil. Who else? Pol Pot, Cambodia. If you understand who Pol Pot was, he built things, but also he destroyed a nation. Cambodia was not the Cambodia of today if it wasn't for Pol Pot. So there were dictators who had that Cain mindset. If you look at the Russian dictators, they really didn't have the Cain mindset. They made laws, but Moscow was already built. They didn't have to build it. The Cain mindset has to be with building things, making laws, making religion. That's the Cain mindset. So it's a common enemy of Yeshua. Cain slew Abel, and the mark of Cain came through. Let's read the two Babylons. We're reading pages 126 and 127.
The two Babylons, page 126. There is yet one more symbol of the Romish worship to be noticed, and that is the sign of the cross. And the papal system, as is well known, the sign of the cross and the image of the cross are all in all.
Oh, the sign of the cross. Could that be the mark of Cain? Let's read.
No prayer can be said, no worship engaged, no step almost can be taken without the frequent use of the sign of the hour of temptation. Without the frequent use of the sign of the cross.
Mm-hmm.
The cross is looked upon as the grand charm, as the great refuge in every season of danger and every hour of temptation, as the infallible preservative from all the powers of darkness.
Could the cross have started in Christianity, or did it start before then? Keep going.
The cross is adorned with all the homage due only to the Most High. For anyone to call it in the hearing of a genuine Romanist by the spiritual term, the accursed tree is a mortal offense.
The accursed tree is a mortal offense. Keep going.
To say that such superstitious feeling for the sign of the cross, such worship as Rome pays to a wooden or a metal cross, ever grew out of the saying of Paul, God forbid that I should glory, save in the cross of our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach.
Mm-hmm.
That is, and the doctrine of Yeshua crucified is a mere absurdity, a shallow subterfuge of pretense.
Mm.
The magic virtues attributed to the so-called sign of the cross,
Mm-hmm.
the worship bestowed on it, never came from such a source.
Mm-mm.
The same sign of the cross that Rome now worship was used in the Babylonian mysteries.
What? Everybody know what Babylonian mystery is, right?
No.
No. Oh, bummer. The Babylonian mystery is where Islam started. No, let me stop. It's where Islam started.
What?
Babylonian mystery. 365 gods. But one cross. Continue.
Was applied by paganism to the same magic purposes and was honored with the same honors.
Now, the cross did not start with the Babylonians. They got it from somebody else. Keep going.
That which is now called the Christian cross was originally no Christian emblem at all, but was that mystic towel of the Chaldeans and Egyptians.
Chaldeans? Who them be? Babylonians. Where did that go back to? Nimrod. Let's read.
The true original form of the letter T, the initial of the name of Tammuz, which in Hebrew radically the same as ancient Chaldea as found on coins, was formed in number 1 on the accompanying woodcut.
You mean to tell me that those wacky Christians are bowing to Tammuz?
You know, every time I would wear, remember I had a cross.
Oh, yeah.
And I would put that cross on, and I would choke. I'd be coughing.
You had to get rid of it.
I had to get rid of it.
We had a big cross on when we were in Christianity, had a big metal cross on the wall. We had to get rid of it. I think we tried to break it, and then like sparks and stuff shot from it. Yes, keep reading. Yeah. Babylonian, the T, the cross, Tammuz.
So people got Tammuz all over the place. Worshiping Tammuz.
Let's read.
That mystic towel was marked in baptism on the foreheads of those initiated in the mysteries and was used in every variety of way as a most sacred symbol.
So that's what they're wearing.
Isn't education wonderful? Let's go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. Isn't education wonderful?
Knowledge.
And we haven't even gotten to why you should know this stuff. Because Yeshua said something that was very, very important. And people miss it. Yeshua said something that was huge. And all praises to the Holy Spirit. Because I wouldn't have caught it. Revelation 12 and 3. Let's read.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
So here at the first, she brought forth a man-child, and that man-child was to rule all nations. With the rod of wine, and her child was caught up unto God. Here is the true ruler of the law, mercy, justice. These are might running with an iron fist, ruling with an iron fist. The mark of Cain.
Oh my goodness.
Kings of the earth.
So should we be doing this?
The mark of Cain. No, I'm just doing the iron fist.
No, but I remember one time I did read that this was demonic, that we should not be doing.
I don't know. I mean,
so can I ask you a question? You remember when Satan was thrown down out of heaven, and it said that
sure, I saw it. You trying to call me old? Yeah, I was there. No, I was not there. Go ahead.
And you remember when it said that he would make war with
yes. Yes.
Did it start from there?
Well, it started with Cain. Oh, did it start from there?
Yeah. To make war
Sure.
with the children of Israel. What are these people doing?
To make war with
that these people have the mark of Cain.
Well, what were they doing? Persecuting. Well,
And make
at this
war.
time, they were persecuting Israelites. Later on, we're going to see through history that they persecute everybody.
But listen,
Israel, it's not enough to persecute Israelites.
Listen to what I'm saying.
What?
When Satan was thrown out of heaven.
Right.
And it said that he will make war with
Correct.
Israel.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Could it have started back then from the beginning?
It could have started there, yes, but there had to be a conduit,
right,
to the people. Right. Yeah, it could have started. Yeah, in fact, I'm 99.9% sure it started from there with Cain, with the devil and his disobedience.
Yes, and then we know that what did Cain do? He committed a murder, and it said, right. But Satan was a murderer from the beginning.
Yeah,
so
but
we
see,
know his father,
right,
was the devil.
Right.
Because if you sin, you do the work, the lust of your father.
Right, but that's too easy. That's too easy.
But listen.
I hear what you're saying.
So Cain killed Abel, right?
Right.
And then that spirit continue on, and those people is making war with Yeshua's people.
Well, I don't want us to think like that. You can think like that right now, but that's not what is going on in history. Yes, in the beginning it was Yeshua's people.
That's how it started.
Right.
Because
now understand this too. Cain had a chance to repent, and Cain did not repent. Yeshua gave him an opportunity to repent. Where art thou, brother? Am I my brother's keeper? Instead of saying, am I my brother's keeper? He should have said, Lord, I did an atrocity against you and I repent. But he didn't do that. He doesn't have the mindset to do that.
Right.
And that
just
was
like
from,
Satan.
Right. But right, from Satan. Satan is the cause of all of this.
Right.
Correct. But he needed somebody to do his bidding.
And that's still from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Right. Yes.
Just like Yeshua had.
But to say Satan, that's easy. We got to pinpoint who is it.
No, what I was asking you, because we say it started from Cain.
Oh yeah, it did start from Cain. For the people, it started from Cain. Yes. Right. Not from the very beginning when Satan was thrown out of the heavens.
And he was a murderer.
Lucifer was thrown out of the heavens.
Right.
I'm stand corrected. He was a murderer from the beginning.
And he was called the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Correct. Right.
And that's what his children do.
Correct.
From Cain to Enoch and so forth. You know?
Correct. There was a human element that was needed, and Cain supplied it.
And Seth's lineage took on the righteousness of Yeshua, the tree of life.
Yeah, up until Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry came, didn't get that jewelry. Nobody got that joke. All right, that shows I'm a bad person when it comes to joke. You probably want to throw some jokes because I'm not that good, I guess.
Nothing need help. Upstairs.
All right, so we read Revelation 12:3. We're going to talk about this in a moment. This is an Assyrian king. Look what he's wearing.
You can't see that. What is that?
I know
that cross.
You see it.
All right, this is an Assyrian king. Let's go to Acts chapter 4, verse 26.
Acts chapter 4, verse 26.
Mm-hmm.
The kings of the earth stood up, and the rulers were gathered together against the Lord and against his Hamashiach.
Right. So Acts 4 and 26, the truth against the holy children of Yeshua. anointed both Herod, Pontius Pilate with the Gentiles. The cross, pagan worship.
And people be having diamond crosses and
My question is, can this be the mark of Cain? That's my question. Can this be the mark of Cain?
I believe so.
No.
The really,
No.
I believe so.
really.
Like I said.
Can this be the mark of Cain? These rulers. All right. They knew him not. They didn't know prophecies. They didn't care about it. Should Yeshua's people know him?
Well, the Pope says it's not a crime to be.
Yes, the Yeshua people should know this. Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Babylon. Look at the year.
Mm-hmm.
Herod comes against the Prince of Peace, the people of the Prince of Peace. Destroys the church. Yeshua sent an angel while Peter was imprisoned.
Mm-hmm.
Peter was delivered. Who was he delivered out of the hands of? Herod. Peter was about to be executed. So what does that mean? Simon Peter.
Yeah.
Simon. Yeah, that's Simon. Sorry. Different apostle. But what does that mean? What does that tell you? Herod persecutes Israel. And it does not matter what or who you are. He persecutes. Yeshua wants you to remember that. He wants you to open your eyes. Herod, all his glory. All his glory. And started to say things that Yeshua did not approve of. So what did Yeshua do? His 70 times 7 was up. And he got busted out of the chair. And his guts burst open. Yeshua with the force slammed him down. So not Herod the Great, because we know he was long dead. Herod Antipas slammed him down so hard that his guts burst open. That's slamming somebody down. Eating worms. Worms eating them. His 70 times 7 was up. Let's go to the life of American Jew in Israel. And we're going to read pages 50 to 51. We're going to briefly talk about Alexander the Greek. Life of an American Jew in Israel. And we're going to read pages 50 and 51. We'll see. If not, we'll just have to do it on Friday because I want to get to judgment after deliverance. We'll see. All right, let's read that.
At the first Zionist Congress.
So this book right here is very interesting. If you have a chance, it's a small book. It's not that. Could you hold it up for the people's? It's a small book. But Jack Bernstein, who wrote it, him got killed. because he exposes a lot in this book. And you don't mess with people who are in authority. You don't write books against people who are in authority because you will come up missing. Let's read. He wrote a couple other books also exposing jewelry. Let's read. And that, no, jewelry, that's Jewish.
Jewelry.
I don't mean jewelry. No. Let's read.
At the first Zionist Congress meeting, which was held in 1897 in Basel, Switzerland, one of the goals set was to create a Jewish state in the land of Palestine. At that time, only a few Jews were living in Palestine, and they were nearly all native Sephardic Jews who are blood-related Semites to the Arabs. These Palestinian Sephardic Jews and the Palestinian Arabs were living in peace as they had for many centuries.
Mm-hmm.
After the Zionist Congress in 1897, European Ashkenazi Jews began migrating to Palestine and buying land wherever they could. Yet by 1920, Jews owned only 2% of Palestine. They killed 60 Palestinians at Balad Eshik. They blew up 20 homes in Sasa, killing 60 women and children. They killed an unknown number of women who were working in St. Simon Monastery in Jerusalem. They massacred 250 at Lydda. They killed 200, mostly old people, in the village mosque in Ed Dawai-Ema. They killed 51 workers as they returned from their fields at Kafar Qasim. Christian inhabitants of Kabah Biram were expelled from the village, and then the village was destroyed. The village cemetery was desecrated, including the smashing of 73 crosses.
My mistake. That wasn't about Alexander the Great. That was about the Jewish people showing their power and showing their might. I think we got something on Alexander the Great later. Rulers who rule with power have the mark of Cain, given to by Yeshua. The rulers of the world.
I hear you so dumb. Oh, put that dumb face.
Kings of kings, they're all in authority.
What about the president? Oh,
They're in
yeah.
authority.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
gonna
let me
ask
say
you earlier.
this, right? They're all the face. There's something behind the scenes. They're not technically, I wouldn't call them puppets. They're part of it. But you need a face. You
So
need
a
something in
face.
front. You need a face.
Mhm.
A lot of people say that they are puppets. Presidents is a puppet. That's not true. They're part of it.
Mhm.
They're a part of it. They're not puppets at all. And we're going to see something because one of them said something. One of them presidents said something. And yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. So are you getting an understanding of the mark of Cain and his lineage even today? Are you getting somewhat of an understanding? Yeshua says something that was very potent. That the disciples had no clue. We can understand that because we're looking at this from a historical perspective. We have to pray to Yeshua to Stop their animosity towards Yeshua, because that's what it is. They have animosity towards Yeshua. And that's what we should do. Pray for those who have the mark of Cain, that they get an understanding. Right? So they're not handed over to the children of evil, children of disobedience. They make rules, and they keep their rules. Story time. Strike one. No. Strike one. All right, story time. There was a school teacher. And this school teacher was in a school there, and the students were very ruly and disrespectful, violent, very rude, very disrespectful, very violent. They strangled the teacher. They stabbed the teacher. The police were not too friendly to go in there and break up stuff. Gang fights happened in the school. And there was this teacher who was timid. And her authority, she had none. She had no authority. So one day this teacher says, you won't listen to my rules. So why don't you make up your own rules? Make up your own rules. Because you won't listen to mine. Right? Excuse me. All right, make up your own rules. Okay? They said, great, we're going to make up our own rules. So they started making rules. If you do this, then this will happen to you. They start making up their own rules. If you do this, this is the punishment. If you do that, that's the punishment. And they made up this long list of rules. You chew gum, then you sweep the whole school floor with a toothbrush until the skin of your knees come off. This was children. And they were making the rules for themselves. And you know what they did? They stuck to those rules. And then there was harmony in the class. There was no more dissension. There was no more fighting. Because if they stepped out of line, they made the rules. So therefore, they issued the punishments, which they were very wonderful at doing. The teacher couldn't rule over them. So she gave them an opportunity to rule over themselves. You see the mark of Cain? You see how authority? That's the mark of Cain. They said, we will make our own rules. We will have the 70 times 7. And we will enforce our law against those who disobey our law. Good example on how Yeshua said, you don't want to follow the Bible. You don't want to follow my 10 commandments. So go ahead and make your own. And Yeshua gave them the authority to do so.
Now, what about these people just made these recent 10 commandments?
They're not in authority. No, they have no authority. As we're going to see, they have no authority. The 10 commandments against earth, global warming or some kind of madness. You really think that the powers who have the authority of Cain care about global warming? They care about power, money, prestige. That's it. If you if you disobey our authority, we will have you executed. This is evil. the power to obey us and be ready to every good work, to speak evil of no man, be no brawlers, but be gentle, showing all meekness unto all men. That's after we set up our tyranny. After we set up our tyranny. The rulers are not terror to good works, but to evil. Evil. That's why they hate you. You're supposed to be the good in what God shows through you. Right? Just like my wife said about the story that she had when she went and got her toes did. They see the good in you. These people hate you. They don't like you because you respect the one true living God. You don't bow down to their authority, even though they're in authority. You don't bow down to their rules. You don't like their monuments. You notice that great men are only respected after their death, after they're dead and gone. You notice how artists, when they're alive, their paintings and whatever are worth zero, but when they're dead, it's worth a lot. We should say, I will not fear what man will do to me. We are not in the perfect position because Yeshua gave them power to rule. Just like the children of Israel were subject to Pharaoh, there's nothing that they could do about it. Nothing. They had to obey the rules or else die. The same situation that we were in back then is the same situation that we're in now. These powerful rulers with the symbol of Arnu, Star of Ishtar, still got it going. Let's look at some symbols of the Star of Ishtar, right? Or the Star of Venus, Ishtar. Here you go. The United States of America Army. The Star of Ishtar. Where else could the Star of Ishtar be? Your compass. Your compass. We control everything.
But that's a lie because during creation we read that Yeshua he pointed the directions of the north, south, east, and west.
But remember, these people don't care about Yeshua. They care about Cain.
Right.
Right? We all know about this. Pagan Ishtar. That is Ishtar. Astar, Easter, whatever you want to call her. Pagan deity. Still today. Pagan deity. Female pagan deity. Male pagan deity. Whose mark do they have? The mark of Cain. The mark of Cain. Same symbol that you saw on the Assyrian king, right? The same mark. We are to serve the one true living God, not a false God. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4. And we're getting close to sundown. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4. 17, right?
Mhm.
All right, let's read it.
2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
For if he that cometh preacheth another Yeshua, whom we have not preached, or if ye receive another spirit which ye have not received, or another gospel which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him.
Right. Another Yeshua. If he's not already appeared in this same Messiah we're waiting for, so here is a religion, but it's not a religion of Yeshua, it's another religion. It's a false religion. Phoenix. Phoenix rising out of the ashes. Albert Pike says that this is the symbol, one of the symbols of Masonry. One of the symbols of Freemasonry is the phoenix rising out of the ashes. Don't we see this a lot, especially in movies? They're telling you something. We control everything. And it does not matter what you say. We control everything. Who cares about the lion and the lamb? We control everything. You don't need to learn about the lion and the lamb. Follow our rules, or else you'll be dealt with. Follow our rules. London, the Olympics 2020. That was their symbol. That was their logo. The fiery phoenix coming out of the ashes. It's false religion.
They let
And
us
this-
know that they are in charge.
In charge. The phoenix rising out of the ashes. Okay. We'll pause right here so the chauffeur can be blown at sundown. It's not sundown yet. Yeah, it is. Now it is.
Shabbat Shalom.
I wasn't saying that. I heard some spit, and the fan was right there.
Mhm.
And it hit the fan and went that way. And y'all, Shabbat Shalom! Droplets of spit. All right. Okay, I know where I can stop. We're going to continue on. We're going to continue on for a few moments. False religion. So the rulers of the world use symbol to show their symbolism. Leaders. You ever wonder, what in the world is all this? And really, to understand something, this guy, who cares? Him, that. Him, he look goofy. Him, that he just sucking up to him. She, that's a he. Her, it don't matter. Her, she's about to die and go in the grave. She's old. Him, yeah, he got a 7-year-old to think about. It's him and him.
Is he a cardinal?
Oh no, he is a pope.
Oh,
He is a pope, not a future pope, a current pope. No, he's not the next one. Current.
So then what's the big deal with, like, you know how after every pope dies, they have like an election, if you will?
He's wearing black. He's wearing white.
Okay.
There's a difference. There's a difference. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. We're reading verses 1 through 4. So you got the Roman Catholic Church, 2 popes. You got a black pope, wearing black, and you have a white pope, wearing white. And for the first time in history, I think the one, he just died. A couple of weeks ago, you had 2 white popes, and you had 2 black popes. When I say black, I don't mean skin color. I mean the garment that they're wearing. And there's a reason for this. Yeshua warned you. We're going to go to Revelation chapter 13, and we're going to read verses 1 through 4.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy.
Yes, 2.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Great authority. You see that? Could that be the mark of Cain? Great authority was given to him. It's no doubt that this is the Roman Catholic Church. There's no doubt about this. Verse 3.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
All the world wondered after the beast. All the world wondered after the beast. You can't tell me that people don't wonder and worship the Roman Catholic Church. But there's more. Verse 4.
And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Who is like him? Who is able to make war with him? And that's not talking about fighting. No. We're going to see. Because Yeshua says something. And Yeshua says something that was so critical. So critical. Not war as you think war. Excuse me. Who, according to scripture, wields authority today? The beast. We're going to read invention. Now we're going to talk about Alexander the Greek for a minute. Invention of the Jewish people. Shlomo Sland. He got killed also.
Y'all doing too much talking over there.
Because he spoke out. And when you speak out against people of authority, you end up dead. Shlomo Sand, Jewish people. We're going to read page 145. We're going back to Greek for a second, to Greece. Let's read that.
Page 145.
Mm-hmm.
Josephus tells us that following the conquest of Judea and Samaria by Ptolemy I, one of Alexander's successors, many captives were taken to Egypt, where they became settled as respected citizens with equal rights. He then adds, there were not a few other Jews who, of their own accord, went into Egypt, as invited by the goodness of the soil and by the liberality of Ptolemy. Relations between the two regions grew closer, with merchants and mercenaries and Judean scholars settling mainly in the new metropolis, Alexandria. Over the next 200 years, the number of Jews in Egypt kept growing, causing the Alexandrian philosopher Philo Judaeus to state early in the 1st century CE, with exaggeration characteristic of the age, that they numbered 1 million. His estimate was, of course, too high, but it is safe to assume that in his lifetime there were as many Jews in Egypt as there were in the kingdom of Judea.
So we're doing this to talk about Alexander the Great and how Alexander the Great continued that lineage of the mark of Cain. Continue reading.
There are as well quite a few Jewish believers in Cyrenaica, west of Egypt, also ruled by the Ptolemies, and a good many in Asia Minor, ruled by the Seleucids. Josephus mentions in the Antiquities of the Jews that the Seleucid king Antiochus III settled in the provinces of Lydia and Phrygia 2,000 families of Jewish mercenaries from Babylonia. But how did large communities spring up also in Antioch and Damascus, and later in Ephesus, Salamis, Athens, Thessalonica, and Corinth in Europe?
Oh, aren't those places where Paul went to? Right? Let's finish that up.
Here again, there are no sources to enlighten us.
All right. I just did that to show, to put in the Greek. Let's go to the 13th tribe. It's another book that you should have. 13th tribe. We're going to read pages 78 and 79. This is to show that when you are in authority, you choose what religion you want to follow. If you want to do that, you choose. You don't. You choose whatever religion you want to follow. You choose whatever religion you want to take over. Let's read that.
The reason for the conversion of Judaism of the king of the Khazars, who had previously been a pagan, is as follows. He had adopted Christianity, then he recognized his falsehood and discussed this matter, which greatly worried him, with one of his high officials. The latter said to him, "O king, those in possession of sacred scriptures fall into three groups. Summon them and ask them to state their case, then follow the one who is in possession of the truth." So he sent to the Christians for a bishop. Now there was with the king a Jew, skilled in argument, who engaged him in disputation. He asked the bishop, "What do you say of Moses, the son of Amram, and the Torah which was revealed to him?" The bishop replied, "Moses is a prophet, and the Torah speaks the truth." Then the Jew said to the king, he has already admitted the truth of my creed. Ask him now what he believes in. So the king asked him, and he replied, "I say that Yeshua the Messiah is the son of Mary. He is the Word and has revealed the mysteries in the name of God."
Trying to find out, what religion am I going to take over? Keep going.
Then said the Jew to the king of the Khazars, "He preaches a doctrine which I know not, while he accepts my propositions." But the bishop was not strong in producing evidence. Then the king asked for a Muslim, and they sent him a scholarly, clever man who was good at arguments. But the Jew hired someone who poisoned him on the journey, and he died. And the Jew succeeded in winning the king for his faith, so that he embraced Judaism.
He embraced Judaism. What they do, if they don't make up a religion, they'll take one over. Let's finish that up. Oh, that was it? Okay, great. Took over Judaism. Mark of Cain, the Khazars. Who is this guy? Anybody know from history? He's a president. Forrest Johnson. Never heard of him. Nixon. I think he's a little. I think Nixon was a little. Wasn't even. Probably may not have been. Yeah, Nixon was born. Yes, he is wearing glasses.
If he would have had, I couldn't see the glasses. I thought I saw the glasses.
FDR. Nowhere near close to being looking like FDR. FDR was kind of chubby. Anyone else want to take a guess? Huh?
Is that the one that got stuck in the tub?
Stuck in the tub. Never heard of that. Andrew, no. Andrew Johnson, no. Andrew Jackson, no. Andrew from 3rd Street, no. Woodrow Wilson.
I'm thinking Dordro for some reason.
Woodrow Wilson. Right? Let me read you a quote that Mr. Woodrow Wilson said. "Since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately some of the biggest men in the United States in the field of commerce and manufacturing are afraid of somebody, are afraid of something, and know that there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive that they had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. President. What does that mean? He was the president when the Fed Reserve came out. Now, does it make kind of sense what he's saying? You can't speak of this power. They are pervasive. They are powerful. They are organized. They're subtle. They're watchful. Who can do that? The Fed Reserve. You don't know what the Fed Reserve is? The Fed Reserve, inflation, they cause it. They take care of inflation. You think it's Biden? You're woefully and sadly mistaken. Employment, that's the Fed. Unemployment, that goes through the Fed. They say what companies fire, what companies do, whatever company they do, whatever company, they say it's the Feds. How can the Feds affect mortgage rates? They're the ones who dictate the mortgage rates. They dictate all the banks. All of it falls under the Federal Reserve. That's who he was speaking of. And the ones who run the Fed Reserve, you better not speak badly about them.
Well, that's where your birth certificates and names and stuff.
Look at what they do. Yes, it does. Federal Reserve. They inflation. They manage it. It's not buy and sell. It's not a shortage of oil and we have to bring up prices. That's all baloney. There's no shortage of anything. They'll want you to believe that there's a shortage so they can raise the inflation to make their pockets fatter. Supervise the banking system. You control the money, you control everything. And that's a quote from one of them. Don't remember who. Control the money, control everything. Maintains the financial stability of the financial system. Mortgage rates, bank rates, student loans. All of that is controlled by them. Provide banking services. Want a house? You can go to a bank, but we control the banks.
And I used to work at a bank many years ago, and they made you study a lot of the banking laws. And even back in the 90s, they had it where the bank can take your money. They can freeze your money, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can try to get a lawyer. You can do all this and that.
Nope. Where do you think the IRS comes from?
It's not until
the IRS is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Unless they choose to unfreeze your money or to give you your money back,
right?
They can say it where you can't do. You can only spend $1 a day out of your bank. You can have millions in the bank. Let's say that there's no money in the bank.
There is no money in the bank because the money is here.
Yep.
It's at the Fed.
Yep.
That's where the money is.
Years ago, people was finding out that when you're born, you have a what is it called? Your name in all caps.
Corporation.
And so when a woman has a baby and they give you that, it's a legal document and you don't even know it. And you put your child full name on there and you sign that document, that legal document, you're signing your child over to them.
Right.
And that legal document actually goes on the stock exchange.
Right. So that's Cain.
Yeah.
That's the mark of Cain.
They controlling the money.
They control the money.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, there's a few things that I want to get to before we close. We're not going to get to, we're going to have a part 3 on Friday. We have to have a part 3 on Friday.
And they have thought of stuff that we wouldn't even think about.
Exactly. Liberty, right? Liberty never came from the government. There's no such thing as liberty. They control everything. This president was speaking about liberty being taken away from people. That there is no government power because they exercise authority. They're the ones who exercise authority. There is no government power. Everything runs through the Fed. Everything. Everything. There is no such thing as checks and balances. Remember when you studied that in U.S. history?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as checks and balances. The judicial party, the judicial branch checks the legislative branch. The legislative branch checks the third branch, which I can't remember. There's no such thing. Executive. They control everything. And if you step out of line, they will sick their secret police, i.e. the IRS. The IRS is a private-owned company. It's not a government entity. So how can they sit there and take your money and do all of this stuff? Because they're part of the Fed, the Fed Reserve. Remember this guy? I pointed you out to him in that picture with the Pope, the guy in black.
That was him.
They are subject to Rome. 2 popes, both sitting on the throne. Both have power. His name is Adolfo Nicholas. This is the face of the Jesuits. Right here. The Jesuits. This is the face of the Jesuits. Right here. The Black Pope rules over all forces, all encompassing. This is him. So nobody asked who's a Jesuit. So I'm assuming that everybody knew who the Jesuits are, right?
I was just looking for it in the scripture, but go ahead.
No, it's not in scripture. Who is the Jesuits?
Genesis something. The Gentiles?
No, that's not them.
Oh, okay.
Who are the Jesuits? Jesuits are Catholic, as you can see. Right? They're Catholic.
I thought there was Rome.
No, they're Catholic. Jesuits, they're Catholic. The white Pope is the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, okay.
This is a Jesuit.
So
Jesuits are Catholic.
Right.
But Catholic cannot be Jesuits.
Mm-hmm.
Jesuits are under the umbrella of the Catholics. Why is he wearing black? Because them do all the dirty stuff. Remember the false prophet in the beast system? He is the head of the beast system. Jesuits. Him. The white Pope, false prophet. He's part of the religious.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of the physical. Remember the EU?
Yeah.
Who do you think controls the EU? All encompassing. Him. And there's 2 of them. 2 black popes. I don't know who the second one is. But they're both Catholic. They're both Catholic. It's just the Roman Catholic Church we all know that they oversee everything. But you got to have a hitman. It's wearing black.
It was this guy that wrote one of those books. I forget. He was not of the blood lineage of the Jewish people,
Mhm.
but he was practicing Judaism. So when he went to Israel, he was not treated the same. You know what I mean?
Right, because he's probably Sephardic.
Yeah. So he was not treated the same. And like the bloodline, they were treated with the best hotels, with the best of everything.
Okay.
And he was just like, you know, he was not the real one from the bloodline. He just happened to practice that.
Yeah.
And he was wanting to marry a girl who was from the blood line, and her father wouldn't allow him to.
Right.
But he wrote one of those. That's when he wrote a book, and he started exposing what they are really about.
Right. So the information that we're going to be bringing forth is from the Vatican themselves, pulled off the Vatican themselves. These two are the black popes. No crime is too great for them to commit. No deception for them to practice. No disguise is too difficult for them. Want to make sure that the world is poverty. They want to secure the wealth and power of the Roman Catholic Church. During the so-called Inquisitions, the Jesuits was the ones who tried to eradicate Protestantism.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to eradicate Protestantism. You couldn't have the Pope and all his pomp wanting to eradicate Protestantism. Now, he spoke out against it. But you got to have somebody to do the work. The dirty work. That's where the Jesuits comes in. This is an older picture, but your white Pope, black Pope. The Inquisitions of Rome, that was them. Under the guise of them.
You don't see anybody.
You don't see anybody. You don't see, well, there's actually a picture that I can't find of him kissing the feet of prisoners.
Yeah.
And underneath his gown, it was white. Him, not him per se, but the black Pope, the leader of the Jesuits. You don't hear too much about black popes. You don't hear too much about the Jesuits because they're in the scene. They're behind the scenes. They're not out in front like this guy. They won't be out in front because this guy got an ego problem. He don't want to share with him. But you see.
You think he's God on earth. So.
See? Same thing. Black Pope. Spanish Inquisition destroyed the Dominicans in Spain. No, the Dominicans are not from the Dominican Islands. No. The Dominicans started off in Spain. Gotta get your history. It started off in Spain. And the Jesuits came against a group called the Dominicans that were in Spain. And the Jesuits had to get them out of there because they were starting not to follow Catholicism. The Jesuits are at the heart and power and all the tools. They are the ones. We're going to go through a couple of more, and then we're done. What is the Inquisition, and what did they use for the Inquisition? Here you go. You don't want to follow our rules? You don't want to bend to our authority? Torture devices. They would tighten this thing and stretch you while this is going in your chin and this is going into your chest until you either bow down to Roman Catholic or die. That was a torture device. That was used in the Franco Wars. Torture device. Thumb device. Right here. Thumb device. That was used for torture. Thumb screws. They would screw it until it popped. Or they had a giant 30-foot ball, metal ball, and they would take you up a couple of flights of stairs, and they would drop the ball on one of your limbs to pull it off. Torture. What else? We all know burning at the stake. This started with the Roman Catholic Church. Burning at the stake. Here's one. They would throw a person into a brass bull or a brass statue and burn them. Who did this? There they go.
Cremation. Alive.
This is the mark of Cain. Cruel. Unbelievable cruelty.
Unrepentant.
Unrepentant. You hardly ever hear of the Black Pope. News, everything. This guy is in front. These two popes seem happy about something. Yeah, we just made another $1 million in the last 2 hours. They're happy about something. We're gonna pause. We're gonna get to this, and I think we're gonna stop here. Yeah, we are gonna stop here because there's a book called The Swords of the Vatican that we're gonna be quoting out of. Francis of Assisi. You see, he's a Jesuit, right? This guy was elected on the 13th of the 3rd month of 2013, and his name, 13 letters. He spent 13 hours to get from South America to Rome. 13 doesn't mean nothing, does it? 13. 13th month of the 3rd month, March 2013. His name has 13 letters in it. And then look up Francis. If you look up Francis of Assisi, if you look that up online, you'll see it's a older picture, but it's a lot older because he took the name of he just took the name of somebody. I'll just leave it at that. We're going to stop here. Because we're going to save this for Friday. Swords of the Vatican and a few other books that we're going to go through with the PDF. And I'm saving the big one for Friday, what Yeshaya said. Because Yeshaya spoke about all this. And no, it's not the scripture where he talks about how in Luke, where he talks about how, you should be mindful. He's not prediction 70 AD. That's not it. All right, so we're going to stop here. And we're going to do part 3 on Friday. Yes. Any questions?
When? Oh, yeah.
When you really start digging into this stuff, it is very, very intriguing. And one of the questions was, why is this so important? Because Yeshaya said something that was very, very important. And we're going to reveal that on Friday. All right.
Any questions?
Probably not. There never is. There never is. All right, next week is Deliverance. Deliverance Friday. Our service starts at 7 p.m. with Deliverance. And then we're going to finish this lesson on Friday. Not that much to go. Next Shabbat, we're going to be discussing judgment. The doctrine of judgment. All right. No, next Shabbat, the doctrine of judgment. Next Friday, we're going to finish with part 3.
No, Saturday.
No, you can forget that for now. Yeah. All right. No questions. We'll go to Psalms 1. And yeah, we'll go to Psalms 1. We can say it whenever.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish.
The way of the ungodly shall perish. 70 times 7. And their time is not up just yet.
I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. It gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, the love between my Lord and I keep falling in love with him over and over again.
All right. Yeah. All right. So that's going to conclude our lesson for tonight. If you've enjoyed the lesson and found it educational, like, share, and subscribe. Notification that'll let you know when it go live. Next week, Friday, Deliverance, 7 p.m. We'll finish with this, part 3. And then next week, Shabbat is Judgment. Purim is coming up soon. And Passover is coming up soon. Kwam Yasharallah.
Kwam Yasharallah.